The journey to the championship continues as the second half of the season rolls forward to Pensacola, USA, the host of the virtual Five Flag Speedway, where tonight we welcome you to the virtual, of course, Five Flag Speedway and the 12th round of the inaugural 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series campaign, right here, of course, from the virtual Five Flag Speedway. So we bring you our live coverage right here on the KBueno Racing Network. So happy to have you along for our coverage for yet again another short track potential thriller where alongside Francisco Bacquiao up atop the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Francisco, this is pretty much the second journey at a very short local track. We had our first instance of it at Myrtle Beach just a couple of weeks ago, but we take things to the grassroots once again at a track that's widely known as to host a super late model race over in December, but it's going to be hosting an October thriller here for the 4-Wide Racing field.
Happy to be here, Kenneth, and such a historic short track Five Flags is, isn't it? With hosting one of the more prominent races known to stock cars with the Snowball Derby, as you mentioned there in the month of December. Normally known for late model racing and all that other stuff. We're going to be taking the ARCA cars here tonight, and you mentioned our experience over at Myrtle Beach. We saw how chaotic that race was. You have to wonder if that's on the back of the minds of these drivers here tonight. Are they going to try and be a little bit more cautious in this race, or if that's going to make them be all the more aggressive?
Of course, aggressivity could be the name of the game at a short track where you may have to use the bumpers in order to really make a statement here from this track. It is a very short one, but it is definitely a track that packs a punch. The Five Flag Speedway it is a really short track, and of course, like you mentioned, Francisco is the host of the Snowball Derby each and every year for the famous super late model races, and it has hosted a lot of races, including NASCAR Cup Series races all the way back in the 1950s. Currently holds races for the ARCA Menard Series and the Can-Am Pro Series East Series as well, so this track definitely has a seasoned history in terms of stock car events. But tonight will be a different story, Francisco, because we bring the ARCA cars here, and we brought the ARCA cars to Myrtle Beach. That was a very big challenge for a lot of the field, especially the entrance to turn one, really getting the car rotated, and then of course trying to power off of exit. This track being obviously much different in shape, being the more traditional oval. What is going to be the key here as a driver to keep yourself mentally tough over 200 laps, but to also keep yourself physically tough with the way this track demands a lot out of you?
This is a very demanding track, and it's a lot more ovalish, a lot more circulish, so it does lean into that having to work more because you have less straightaway. It's a lot longer of a corner, so you're in the corner more percentage of the lap, which means more often than not you're going to be working in these corners. You just see right there on this shot, you can see the banking on this corner. It's a pretty good amount for a short track with the way it's shaped and the size of it. And when you think about just how you have to drive here, even on this front straightaway, it's a little bit of a curved straightaway and it's banked as well. So you're always going to be at some sort of level of banking here and always turning the wheel. And it's not an easy track to drive. There's a good amount of bumps here, and just trying to hold it against that yellow line on the bottom of the racetrack, or even try and clip a little bit below it, is going to be very challenging because it can make the car step out. And then right here, you see just how narrow that back straightaway is, and there's no room in the infield whatsoever. We're such a short track, you can't really afford that much to give much away from the infield itself. So a wall very close to the racetrack, that means that there's a crash back here on the back straightaway, a lot of cars can get involved just because they're going to funnel down.
It's narrow, it's tough, and it's going to be a fun one over the course of 200 laps, especially with this four-wide racing field. Well, qualifying has already ticked down to a close. The grid is already able to be set, and behind the iRacing official pace car, it'll be our time to take a look at your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be starting here tonight from the virtual Five Flags Speedway. It's Christopher Bishop, first ever pole this season with a 17.207, the fastest one out of everyone here. He'll lead us to the green flag with rookie Jacob Benson in the 45 to his outside on your first row.
Looking back at your second row, known drivers in Austin Reedy and Craig Longslager. They're prominent on short tracks, and they were very strong over at Myrtle Beach. Maybe their speed and a little bit more luck will persuade them in this one.
Back to row number 3, it's AJ Green for Stonk Motorsports, who will line up the top 5, and league owner Tyler Murray will try to have short track success here tonight from P6 on the outside of row 3.
The next row sees Kyle Benson, who has struggled this season. Kenneth, very surprising, the defending Truck Series champion and a Final Four contender over in the Cup Series, has yet to found victory lane. A lot of bad luck. Maybe he'll be able to turn that around tonight, starting inside the top 10 alongside Tristan Bailey.
Then the drivers finalizing the top 10. Jesse Prees in the 00 will start tonight from P9 with Cody Kinsey in the 93 right alongside him for the edge of the top 10.
Looking in the 11th position, Joe Sanchez, 3-time race winner this season, looking to see if he can make it 4. He's got some work to do if he wants to make that done. And Kevin D'Elia, who we saw over at Talladega a week ago, starting in the 12th position, he's going to try and build on a run.
Back to row number 7, you'll find the 16 of Matt Roberts on the inside and the 43 Ricky Rosner lining up P14, the outside of the 7th row in this race.
Your 8th row consists of Ken MacArthur, the winner at Daytona, and Jason Hastings in the 49. He's going to start in the 16th position.
Back to row number 9, Lance Hill in the 34 will kick off tonight from P17. And the last time we saw a short track race, Myrtle Beach, we had Curtis Kelly in victory lane. He's going to try to repeat things back from P18 tonight. And then behind them, we'll find all the drivers lined up in the 99 Colin Forster, P19, P20 to current points leader Brandon Banks, Michael Woolley, Eric Schaefer to P22, Tony Kivet, Michael Newbraw, and Brandon Gillis. Your entire field tonight, it is 25 strong here for the virtual Five Flag Speedway, so it is a very stout field nonetheless to have here. A lot of the series regulars, a lot of the series strongest, and of course drivers looking for a four-wide racing ARCA Series championship. We'll have the drivers line up out of turn 4. Pace car will make its way directly to pit road, 200 laps. So we'll kick off here with the 42 and the 45 on the first row. Bishop dents into the green flag from Five Flags.
You can see there how they're funneling down on that inside line, just having to check up a good amount. And outside pole sitter Jacob Denson is going to go to the lead. Christopher Bishop struggling on that inside line. And here comes Craig Longslager trying to take second.
Outside line with a really good jump to start this race. It's Craig Longslager from the outside as well, who also jumps up to second. Bishop, your pole sitter, going to fall to third, but he's in a dead heat battle with the 11 of Austin Reedy. So Jacob Denson, quick progress on the opening lap of this race. He's going to drift up, come right back down on turn 4, and he's going to lead lap 2.
He's going to have a sizable lead at the moment over Craig Longslager. Here's the 11 of Austin Reedy now trying to take advantage of Bishop struggling on this early portion of the run. He's going to get through to the 3rd position. Bishop just struggling right now for grip as he's still under fire. He's going to fall down to the 5th position and maybe under fire from falling outside the top 5 here in a lap or so.
That's AJ Green in a brand new paint scheme. Not sure that we can really recognize it after running a Jimmy Johnson scheme for all of his starts up until now. It's a Ray Evernhand Dodge paint scheme here tonight for AJ Green as he works the outside. He's going to be able to clear the 42 this time by and creep in to the top 5. Meanwhile, top 3 actually keeping themselves rather scrunched in together. It's the 11 of Austin Riddy trying to catch up to the 13 Allowance Slugger. And Francisco, I don't think this is an unfamiliar sight on the short tracks. Austin Riddy was a dominant force to be reckoned with over at Myrtle Beach, but had some struggles later on. But it's no surprise that even in the first couple laps, Austin Riddy has pace as the yellow flag comes out for the first time tonight.
An early caution. I don't think this was exactly a stranger to us here, as we'll have to see what exactly was it that brought out this caution. You saw right there it was heating up towards the front of the field, as it looks like the 43 may have some form of trouble. We'll see if he was involved in this incident. But Kenneth, we saw there early on, Reedy was really putting on a charge, and we also saw the likes of Kyle Benson starting to put on a pace to get into the top 5. It looks right here that the 43 goes into the corner, and in the center of the corner, the car just comes around on him, it seems, and just as he's trying to lock it down, has everybody missed, and right there, Brandon Gillis just does not slow down.
And Brandon Gillis with a hard hit, right on board with him and his 9 machine, working the outside. Everybody slows down, and a big hit to the side of the 43. His race may be completely over. I believe he does have the fast spare given to him, so he may have to burn it up in the opening 8 laps of this race, but already some huge damage to multiple cars on end. A couple will hit pit road. Gillis will be one of them. But as for the leaders, they'll slow down. The Iverson pace car will pick them up. Our first caution tonight had a total of over 25 cautions. Francisco, last time we visited a short track at Myrtle Beach, we had a bunch of those, and of course green-white checkered attempts to end that event. Tonight, of course, not expecting any different just because of the close quarters and just how chaotic things can get at this racing venue.
27 was our magic number over at Myrtle Beach, and I can imagine that we might end up in that double-digit range, probably somewhere in the sub-27. I don't think we'll have that many here tonight once again. 5 Flags, I think, is a track that people have a little bit more experience on just because it is such a popular track with not just these cars, but the super late models as well. So just a little bit more track time here relative to Myrtle Beach might be able to help with that. We'll just have to see just how this race ungoes. This is the first time I believe that you and I are covering a race at this racetrack, so it is relatively new for us as well as commentators. So we're not exactly sure from our aspect what we could expect from previous instances. Benson with a good start, but here comes Reedy looking to the inside. Is not going to exactly go for the move, but he will try to go for second on Lonslugger, who had a bit of a slip entering turn 3.
Lonslugger now having to use the middle lane, a bit more banking here at 5 Flags and at Myrtle Beach, so you can really make this outside line work, as a 13 will try to get the run out of turn 2. He's not going to be able to make the nose just yet out of the 11. Reedy's going to be able to clear for P2, and that's Kyle Benson as the 11 goes around. Reedy loose off of turn 4. It's a big mess behind. That's Michael Woolley involved on the inside wall. And you said it, Francisco, once a car goes around, the narrow straights do not give way for drivers to get around the calamity. But this time it's Austin Reedy, the victim, at lap 14.
And you saw it happening right there, trying to put the power down. He knew he was clear for that second spot and was trying to get up in front of the 13 to prevent any momentum. And right there, just a couple of those bumps. And he actually gets hit right on after. You see there by the 13. And right there, I'm not sure who that was that hit him, and then you see three times gets hit just as he stopped there on the racetrack. He did the right thing in locking the brakes down and preventing his car from moving. That could have easily been a lot worse, but cars being side by side on such a narrow track, it's not exactly the most avoidable situation in the world with how narrow it is.
You see right there, 69 of Michael Woolley, a huge hit on his car as you ride on board with his Hot Wheels machine. Coming to the front straightaway, sees the 11 around, and hard hit to the inside wall. It doesn't take much here at Five Flags to get involved in the drama. And for the 69 of Woolley, unfortunately, some hard damage early and possible steering issues. You see right there, a car looks a little bit unsteady, especially given the fact that he completely slammed the inside wall coming across the front straightaway. He's going to hit pit road. He's not going to use the fast repair, but he is going to get some damage control nonetheless. It's going to give him some time down pit road. As the leaders will come by, Woolley will already be one lap down on the racetrack. That's a characteristic with these short tracks, though, Francisco, and it really hurts you when it does. When you get into an incident, you go down pit road for damage control, you don't have a lot of time between you going down for damage and then the leaders coming back around with a pace car to put you one lap down. It can be a really tough limbo situation, as I would say, when you're a driver with damage that's just trying to get it fixed and not trying to burn the fast repair too early.
The only good thing I would say is that you could definitely bet on there being more cautions to give you more opportunities to come down pit road and get that damage repaired. So, and not night over. With the amount of cautions we would expect to have here tonight, I think that it's safe to say even if you're a lap or two down, it's not exactly the end of the night.
Well, for Michael Woolley, we'll try and keep an eye on him. As for the drivers behind them, Brandon Gillis got a fast repair. He's back up to P20. He is on the lead lap, but for the other end of the spectrum on that first caution, Ricky Rosner is not so lucky. He is one lap down on the track currently as the last driver in the running order, P25, just behind the driver in P24, the 11 rather, of Austin Reedy, who was involved in that incident on the front straightaway. Lights will go out of the pace car. I guess that's a good thing about short track racing. Cautions aren't really that long here. And we'll double them up once more with Jacob Denson and Craig Lounslugger. Your front row will be the same one from the last restart. It's going to be a different look, though, in row number 2 with AJ Green on the inside and a new look for Kyle Benson, the Alfa Romeo car, and the stylish colors there out of the 10 machine. There he is on the outside of row 2. Tristan Bailey, Tyler Murray to line up the drivers in row 3 to your current top 6. We've seen different lanes be used in the first 19 laps of this race. We'll see if any are used for position furthermore. As the pace car comes down, Jacob Denson back to the green flag, and it's a more convincing start out of the 45. Lounslugger not able to get to his outside, and now he's going to have to hold off a whole gathering of cars as the 48 and the 10 trying to make something happen.
You see aggressive racing back there for the second position. How about Kyle Benson, Kenneth? He's really made some good ground on the opening part of this race. He started back in the 7th or 9th position, definitely on the backside of the top 10, and he is easily up inside this top 5 and starting to charge his way up into this, trying to fight for this 3rd position, as Christopher Bishop is actually trying to make a comeback. Your pole sitter, not quite clear there. They'll stay side by side going into turn 1. Bishop may have this there as the bumps will probably get them. You see 2 wide action deeper in the field, but Kyle Benson, Kenneth, at least early on, looking pretty impressive.
You're right on board with the pole sitter. The 42 is dropped back to P9, but of course, like you said, just trying to pick things up from where he started. Did not have the stellar beginning to the race, but if he can try and pick things up over a long run, we could see the 42 be a force to be reckoned with here in this race. He's trying to catch the 55 of Joe Sanchez, the multi-time winner this year. And Bishop still looking for his first in this series. It is single file from obviously first tonight as the caution comes out, and it's Lance Hill rested on the inside of, I believe that's turn 1. The 34 with minimal damage will come back up through the gears and come back up to speed. It's not necessarily a huge instance here to bring us under yellow, just a bit of damage on the rear end, but 34 in trouble nonetheless, going to lose all that track position.
And I'm interested in seeing what happened here. It looked like he may have had some help here. He was side by side with Ken MacArthur here. Ken looks to try and make the slide job. The 34 tries the crossover, flips a little bit of the apron. Oh, and then he makes contact with the left rear of the 97. It looks like maybe he tried to run the 97 up closer to the wall. The 97 see exactly what happened here. Oh, he got loose. MacArthur got loose there and got into Lance Hill, and that's what sent Hill into the inside wall. Doesn't appear to have too much damage on his car, fortunately for Hill, but he is going to lose that track position.
Here's the 34 all the way back to P23, and like you said there, Francisco, just a case of the 97 getting loose at the exit of turn 4, just kind of whiplashing into the 34 and then sending him down the track. Fortunately, though, for Hill, he's not going to lose in terms of damage. He's only going to have just a little bit on the front and the rear, but not going to be enough to warrant a trip down pit road, especially for a pass repair given on early in tonight's race. Of course, with the 4-wide racing series, the fast repairs are given to a driver. It's one for each, so you do get one chance to completely repair your car if you do get it damaged to the point where either to you're not comfortable with the damage, or the car is just too damaged to even sustain running on the racetrack. You can get a fast repair, you can burn it off, and your car will be fresh as new, like it just rolled off of the trailer. But problem is, a short track with damage pretty much being imminent, that one fast repair just kind of seems just a little bit offensive, I guess, to these guys, because you'd probably want more considering the calamity that can happen here at this track. We are going to double them up again this time by, it's a rather short caution. Actually, no, we'll double them up next time by. Francisco, I guess just a talking point here on strategy with the fast pair. Saw guys play with it at Myrtle Beach, saw it really consume most of the field. Is that sort of a concern for many, and how do they attack that concern going into tonight?
I think the best way to go about it is don't use it unless you absolutely have to. Definition by absolutely have to, a meatball flag or potentially terminal damage with the engine. I think at any other instance, you have to save it for the end of the race, because what matters is if you're running at the end of the race. With how much calamity we'll have here, staying in the field is what's going to keep you in the race. So if you get critical damage, but it's not terminal, you have to ride with it for a while. You have to deal with it, because it'll keep you in the race. Because if you have an incident later on that gives you terminal damage, had you had used the fast repair, you would have had the terminal damage and no fast repair remaining. So it's just one of those instances where we know we're going to have calamity, so you have to take care of the fast repair. I would not use it until the last 50 laps of this race if I absolutely could.
We'll see exactly what happens with that strategy as the pace car comes back down pit road. It's a later start by Jacob Denson, but once again, he's going to clear himself back to turn 1. Actually, a better start in turn 1, though, for the 13. He's going to get to the 45's quarter panel, and he's going to be side by side with the race leader. Question is, can he hold off in enough time to get by the 45? The answer is no. Give the lead still to Jacob Denson as they're side by side for third.
That was a good 3 and 4 by Jacob Denson. And now look at this, AJ Green on the offensive, trying to see if he can take the spot away from Longslugger on the inside. Longslugger with the run out of the corner. And something I've noticed, Kenneth, is this outside, especially in 1 and 2, does seem to be a little bit more preferred. We aren't seeing guys exactly all the way to the bottom here in 1 and 2. You see Longslugger and Green kind of go there, but Denson's running about half a lane off. That's very interesting, but we are seeing that when you are side by side, if you're on the outside in 1 and 2 especially, you are definitely going to pinch that guy down there on the bumps, force them to have to stay off of you, and that does give you a pretty good run off the corners. So you see Tyler Murray in the 6th position trying to claw his way forward.
They're all single file trained so far, not something we usually expect out of short track racing. We usually expect to be pretty much fanned out all the way through, but for right now, a lot of these guys want to maintain themselves calm as AJ Green once again looks to the inside of second place Craig Lounslager, but Lounslager with a better run out of turn 2 as the caution will come out again, and it's a huge pileup. It's Lance Hill again, but this time takes 2 more cars with him, the 99 of Colin Forster, and points leader going into tonight, Brennan T. Banks in the 88 machine.
Yeah, Brandon T. Banks, almost a winner at Michigan, not quite being able to pull that one off, involved in the wreck here. We'll see exactly what happened. Hill getting loose off the corner, and then right there you see Forrester had nowhere to go. The teammate gets into the back of him, lifts him up into the air, and we see actually Brandon T. Banks right behind this incident. We also saw somebody else involved as well. Doesn't look like Banks have too much damage here. He might not. I know you see Kivik involved in a separate incident. We'll have to see what happened to him there as he ends up sliding. So right here, he's slowing down for the wreck and absolutely gets hit from behind. I'm not sure who that was. It looked like the 43 of Rosner.
Not sure whether it was the 43. Actually, it was the 9 of Gillis. We saw him involved in the first caution tonight. After using the fast pair, though, he is immediately towed it to the garage. And then, of course, you see the aftermath there with this trio on the inside wall. That's Hill with more damage. That's Forster. First time he was involved in a crash this race. Same deal with the 88 of Brendan Banks, who I don't believe takes too much damage here in this one. But he's still going to have enough to be just a little bit concerned about it as the caution flies once again. Lap 37 of 200. It's a really long race here tonight, Francisco. So, again, just talking about the physical endurance and the mental endurance you're going to need as a driver to handle all these yellows and, of course, put in all these laps here to short track where really contact and crashes are at least bound to happen at some point. As you watch the 88 come out of pit road, don't believe that's a faster pair burn for him. He's actually going to keep his car completely clean for now. He's going to come back out, and he'll most likely be buried beneath the top 20.
You know, we have an opportunity here, Kenneth, under this caution. For those that are invested in the iRacing Coke series, or the professional series, if you will, tonight is their championship race over at the Texas Motor Speedway. So how about we give any viewers that may be wondering what's going on over there?
Well, currently the drivers sit at lap 31 of 167, so of course it is a rather long race. There are almost about half the NASCAR distance, depending on which track it is and depending on obviously the race context. But as for the championship 4, they currently run 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 13th, as DeYoung leading this race with Keegan Leahy back in 2nd. It's 8th place for Bobby Zelensky, and of course Logan Clampett sitting all the way back in 13th. Clampett was a driver who finished 4th in the Texas race last year. Very close to winning, but his sort of technical alliance teammate, as we call it right now, the 8 of Michael Conti, was the winner in that race. But exactly, definitely a wild one over at Texas. That's going to be a lot of fun. All 4 of them very competitive in their own right, and they're all fighting for $100,000 in cash. So obviously it's a lot on the line over at No Limits Texas. There's no money on the line here, but bragging rights is definitely worthy of it here in the 4-Wide Racing Series as Craig Lounslugger tries to again pioneer that middle groove to get around Jacob Denson, but he's not going to be successful to get side by side with him. And for now, Denson again going to maintain his pace up at the front of this field. It is still side by side between 3rd and 4th as there's a whole gaggle of cars here right on board with Kevin DeLee in the 53. He watches almost side by side between Benson and Bailey.
And it's very difficult to sit here in the position that he's in right now, just staring down the rear bumper of the car in front of you. You know that with these sensitive cars, if you get into the rear bumper, any sort of contact will probably send that car spinning you. So, and not to mention the fact that he has a car right on his rear bumper as well, and it's that 55 of Joe Sanchez trying to find his way up to the front. All these yellows have not exactly allowed that 55 to make the moves he's necessarily wanted to. He's slowly picked off at least one position before a caution is he's going to get right to the rear bumper of that 53, trying to see if he can force him to maybe give him that position, as they are single file through this top 8 right now.
As a look at Joe Sanchez and his trot through the field so far, it's only +3, so you are right. It's been harder for the driver of the 55 to really gain ground out of the first 44 laps, especially given the amount of cautions that we've had to start this race. But the 3-time winner so far this season looking for a 4th, and if he can get it at the short track, then why not? As he works behind the 53 of Kevin D'Elia, and the entire top 8 sort of single file on their own ground. They've kind of broken away from everybody else. Here's a nice battle beneath them and beneath the top 10. It's Austin Riddy. We saw him involved in an incident by his lonesome out of turn 4, and even with the damage, he's picking up spots. He's back to P10.
And you have to assume he took tires as well there, Kenneth, under that caution. I don't think we have a tire set limit. So being on pit road, having to take damage, you, of course, would take tires as well. So we'll see what those tires do for him. Because of the amount of caution laps, I don't think the leader's tires have worn out that much. So not too significant of a difference, but it should help him make it a little bit easier trying to pass these cars that he is navigating around to try and get back inside the top 10. You know, we touched base with Joe Sanchez as well. He was the winner back at Iowa and Darlington, 2 of the more difficult tracks on the circuit, and such a difficult track that Five Flags is as well in its own right, that it would not surprise me if we see him up front before this race is over. It's going to be very difficult if we keep having this pace of yellows, as you see right here. A battle now as these guys have lost touch with that top 5. They're side by side in front of Joe. It's the 8 of Murray and the 53 of D'Elia. We'll see if he can get by both of them, or at least one of them, because if not, it's going to invite your pole sitter, Christopher Bishop.
Bishop is also the 4th car out in this one, so he can gain ground if these two continue to slow themselves side by side. It's an interesting case here for Murray. He's working that middle lane. We saw it work a couple of times, and he's just trying to maintain the outside of DeLeo, although this time he runs way wide out of 4. That's going to invite Joe Sanchez to take that spot away. Now here comes the 42. Also gives some space as well to Austin Reedy, who we saw trying to climb up to the field. He's going to try and work on the RC Cola machine as well. So there's a lot of positions up for grabs, and that's a thing with short course racing and short track racing, really, Francisco, is the fact that you're not really escapable, or you can't really escape any drivers behind you. If you make a mistake, chances are you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and counting cars going by you, even if you get loose, if you run wide like Tyler Murray, or if you end up in a spin, obviously, which will get rid of all your track position. But you can't really make mistakes here at an intimate track like Five Flags, because all of a sudden you're going to be buried through the field before you know it.
And we haven't seen it at too many tracks this season. And a good example would be Bristol earlier in the season, Kenneth, that lap traffic, once you catch up to them, it's basically just the same deal. And just as I say that, rather, we have a caution on the speedway to end what is our longest run of the night. We went just over 10 laps of green flag racing on that particular run there before a yellow flag breaks it up. We'll see exactly what happened. I'm not sure who it may have been, but it looks to be someone on the backside of the field. Maybe this 93 of Cody Kinsey was somewhere in the vicinity.
Take a look at the onboard here from the Pepsi machine. Didn't see too much movement throughout the field, but maybe this could give us a good look at exactly what happened. There it is, 97 of Ken MacArthur, who went around on the back straightaway. And this is coming out of turn 2, is running right behind Michael Newbraw. The first time we've seen turn 2 be a talking point tonight. And barely gets into the 7 of Tony Kivet on the way back up the track. But of course, him stopped right there with the nose just out there onto the racing surface. Brings us another yellow. It's not a huge incident, but of course it is one that'll warrant us back under pace car pace.
Yeah, getting loose off these corners is definitely a challenge for these guys. He had it corrected there, and then at the last second looked to have tried to get it back up to the racetrack, try to minimize his damage, and spun the tires and let the car roll up just a little bit too much up onto the racetrack, barely out into the 7. A little bit more awareness there could have maybe prevented the contact with the 7, but it just goes to show how challenging it is to drive these cars here, Kenneth. It's not exactly a walk in the park.
Definitely isn't, and we've seen already drivers get loose. Myrtle Beach was sort of the same scenario where you're trying to put in as much throttle as possible, but these cars do not have that much downforce to help you, so if the car gets loose, it's all on you to try and save it, and for some, they end up kicking the rear end too much, and the car ends up going for a spin. That's kind of what we saw there with the 97. We saw it already with the 11 of Austin Reedy, just how chaotic that can be in the middle of the racetrack. Fortunately for MacArthur, it's more under the racing surface that it happens and doesn't necessarily collect too many drivers in the field. We talk about drivers that have made statements in this series, and of course short tracks being a place to make those statements. How about a driver who made a statement last week? The 2 of Tristan Bailey, Francisco, wasn't a winner in Talladega, so in that Ricky Bobby machine wasn't able to bring the spirit of Talladega Nights specifically, but did finish in the top 5 and was a force nonetheless. He was running at the front. He was arguably the most aggressive driver all night, and it really paid dividends for him. And tonight, he's still working on that momentum built from Dega last week, currently up to P5 in the top 5, and definitely picking up positions on the way there.
He's driving fast, as Ricky Bobby would say. He's using the slingshot to his advantage and trying to see if he can work in some shake and bake action.
I think it's good that at a short track he doesn't have a big Fig Newton sticker on his windshield. I know that's a hazard. That's a hazard at any track, but at a short track I think it's even worse, just because everything's so close quartered and you don't want to read the Fig Newton sign while accidentally ramming into a car at the entrance of either corner. So I think that's a good thing. We're seeing the hood or the windshield rather completely clear as the green flag will come out. It's Jacob Denson and Craig Lounslager back to green.
I think he may have asked Denny Hamlin for some help in driving blind.
Maybe. Denny is experienced with blockaged driving, as we'd call it, with the windshield. Watch the side-by-side battle so far between the top 2. Craig Lounslager has been eyeing that outside all night long in the restarts. He's found that as a prime opportunity to get this position away, but he just has not found the momentum nor the placement to get himself to the race lead. He's gotten this close, door to door, but he just hasn't been able to make the pass further complete and take over the race lead, specifically as Kyle Benson will be the third man out in this one. He'll try to work with Jacob Denson underneath as the 13 maintains side by side with the 45. Longest time we've seen them side by side.
The key for him was staying on the outside in 3 and 4. We have a wreck in the back, and that is going to ruin any chance he had at taking the lead. A big one, as we see Brandon Banks involved, gets hit again by Colin Forrester. We have another car turned around back there. It looks to be the 16. Christopher Bishop involved, your pole sitter. A big one in turn 1.
Looked to be one car going to the outside wall. It was Bishop. Looked to be a single car incident, but all of a sudden, then you have Brandon Banks involved, then you have Matt Roberts involved. And this becomes a multi-car pileup in turn 1. Take a look at the replay and see exactly what happened. You saw it at the edge of your screen for a moment. What happened with the 42? Not sure whether he had some help. Indeed he did by the 88. That's exactly what forced Banks into this situation. 42 backs into the outside wall. And then you can watch the entire ride that Brandon Banks goes through after hitting the 42. Slows it down. A hit from Pre sends him around. And then watch this as he comes back down the track.
Yeah, right there. Probably should have held the brake right there. Could have maybe avoided contact with that. I believe it was the 69 of Woolley that got into him there on the apron of the racetrack. It looks like they were racing for position there. Got a little too hot to the corner. And then right here, Rosner, a little bit late to the party, gets into the back of the 16, turns him around. And that's how we get extra cars involved here in turn 1. See Rosner checking up, probably realizing that he probably made a mistake and tried to go over the race chat and tried to let know of the driver that he got into that, hey, that was my fault, I didn't see the wreck, or something along those lines. Usually when you make a mistake like that, you'll let the other guy know, like, hey, I genuinely didn't mean to do that.
We watched a lot of these drivers that were involved in that incident go down pit road. It's been a tough one already for the 88 of Brandon T. Banks, who we've already mentioned a couple of times tonight, is the points leader going into this race. He's had a heap of momentum in this series coming up to this race, but this could be a hard hit in the points if he doesn't pick it up by the end of tonight. He's going to come out of pit road, some more rear end damage to couple with some of the other damage that he's picked up in this race. He's going to come out of pit road, currently P21, but fortunately, he is not going to go one lap down. As for Ricky Rosner, who was involved in that incident, he is pulled it behind the wall. He is out of this race, so make that 2 cars DNF tonight as you watch the only car currently one lap down on the racetrack, the pole sitter in the 42 of Christopher Bishop. It's been a rough one so far, Francisco, for the driver of that 42, because we haven't seen much success out of him in this season. We've seen sort of shines of brightness, but hasn't been sort of a consistent, full-on, strong season for that 42. Pole sitting here at 5 Flags was certainly going to be looked to maybe a turning point for him in this season, but unfortunately, so far, he's 1 lap down, and we're not even halfway yet.
Yeah, he had a troubled start there, Kenneth. He was the pole sitter and immediately fell out of the top 5. That qualifying pace didn't turn into race pace, and unfortunately, once you lose that track position, it does get you behind the A-ball, and got him into that mess, and now he's just along for the ride the rest of this one, as we are, I believe, 1/3 of the way through this race, about to complete at this time anyways, as we see Denson launching, choosing the inside lane. He's going to go into turn 1 as your leader. Lautenslager's trying to stay on the outside, but he won't be able to. Instead, we'll have Kyle Benson for challenge for that 2nd spot, much like they did at Phoenix. And look who slid his way up into this top 6. It's Joe Sanchez. You see him back there in that recognizable car of his. He's running in the 6th position, trying to see if he can find his way into the top 5.
He's trying to peek in, but so far it's the battle for P2 that we're looking at the most, as Benson continues to try and work the inside. Hasn't quite yet found the space to make the move. It's going to get real tight out of turn 4, but Lautenslager is still going to have the momentum up top, and it is still dead even. They're working side by side, even behind them. That's Tristan Bailey on the bottom side. It's AJ Green up top. The 55 of Sanchez is going to get by AJ Green this time by, and it is getting real racy here from 2nd on back, only allowing the 45 of Denson to walk away.
And Denson's loving this. He's not exactly challenged right now, and he doesn't have to worry about this mess. But speaking of worrying about a mess, we have a mess once again on the racetrack. Appears to be on the front straightaway, and there you see once again Matt Roberts involved in a crash. Not exactly sure how it happened, but the evidence is right here.
Matt Roberts in the 16 machine around this time by. I think it was a single car crash, so don't think anybody else was collected here. And it seems to be in the same place. We've seen a lot of issues happen, Francisco, off turn 4. And indeed, it is single car incident. Roberts just loses it. Just loses the back end of the car, right on board with him as he's behind Colin Forster, underneath Austin Reedy. Car steps out, and it's just too hard to save. Bit of a tag to the inside wall. Not going to be race-ending damage, but of course, just like the previous incident, any incident so far tonight, it is going to put him back in track position once more.
Yeah, and you saw right there, that's a tough spot to be in on the inside in 3 and 4, where the track kind of goes away on the inside and the outside does get momentum, and trying to stay off of that car, put the power down, all those things combined, and you lose a little bit of air as well with the car in front of you and the car on the outside. It's just very, very difficult, and unfortunately that sent his car around.
Well, for one, we've had multiple changes on pit road between this yellow and right now. You watch a couple of drivers hit pit road, one of them being your race leader at the time, the 45 of Jacob Denson, AJ Green, Kevin D'Elia, and the 13 of Craig Lounslager. They have hit pit road. Actually, yeah, AJ Green did hit pit road, so he is also part of this group as well that did go for service. So an interesting call here, lap 73. You figure, obviously, Francisco, even with the fuel capacity, you're not going to make it all the way around for 200 laps. So you are going to pit at least once before this race is all said and done. But an interesting method to call right now at lap 73 and give the lead away.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision. Maybe there's something that they know that I don't. We know that the race is 200 laps. They have 75% of a fuel fill, but I'm not exactly sure what a fuel run here with the ARCA car is. I've never actually done a race or even a test session to really be able to tell just what that number could be. The only thing I could assume is that there's a definite one stop at the very least, but maybe those guys that just came down pit road are thinking pit twice. They might use this tire advantage to try and drive their way back up through this field, and if they make up enough track position, even with some cautions that I feel will be inevitable through this next run, maybe they'll pit together and just try something different, you know?
It could be a possibility to kind of switch things up after this race is gone, mostly caution filled. And you could also argue that they're also looking for more cautions to play this race and help their two-stop strategy, because if it goes green, a second stop wouldn't really be viable because they're going to go multiple laps down and the field is kind of going to blow by them if they decide the typical one stop at halfway. So this is them pretty much banking on more yellows from here to the end of this race, and then using one of those yellows as an opportunity to pit a potential second time. We'll try and monitor that strategy as it moves forward, but we're going to have a new race leader out of turn 4. Kyle Benson brings us back to the green flag.
Might have a Ferrari underneath that race car, even though it says Toyota, Kenneth. He's definitely shown some improved pace here today, and he is really bringing out the neck of that race car. You see Joe Sanchez fighting for that second position there with Tristan Bailey. He's going to slide up a little bit off the corner. They're going to stay side by side. Loose by Joe Sanchez. That's going to give the two an advantage going into 1 and 2. But they're staying side by side as Lance Hill, despite all his troubles in the early portions of this race, Kenneth, even with some damage still existing on that car, he is finding his way up to third as almost contact between the 55 and the 2. Will we see Sanchez clear for second? Not quite, but he does have an advantage going into turn 1 as the yellow flag is back out once again. It seems like we have a big crash in turn 4.
It's a huge pileup out of the fourth corner, similar to what we saw with Colin Forster, Brandon Banks. But this time it includes Forster, includes Roberts, includes the 49 of Jason Hastings, and like you said, Francisco, the 13 of Lounslager, who hit pit road the last caution we had. He's involved in this with some minor damage on the front end of that Ford Taurus. We'll take one look and see exactly how this began. And it did begin with a 13, Francisco. This is the case on cold tires, loose on the inside, backs it up. Good job by him, but it's everybody trying to avoid him that creates this pile up here. The 16, the 99, the 49, all trying to back it up to get around that stop 13. And they create sort of a crunch effect, as you will, an accordion effect between themselves, and it's a hard hit for the 16 on the outside wall.
And that mainly comes down to people, whether they're checking up at a different ray or trying to swerve around the car and maybe try to gain a spot in doing so. It's very difficult. You see right there, the 49 checked up the most. Forrester felt he didn't have to check up as much, and tried to turn up the track because, of course, we had the 13 sitting on the bottom side of the track, so that took away a lane, and they all just pile up into each other. We see Roberts there gets clipped at the last second, gets sent into the wall. Brandon T. Banks, good job slowing down the necessary amount to get up by this track. And if you think about it, Kenneth, the 13 basically has no damage to his race car. He didn't really get hit there, so a single car spin and no damage, I think Lawton Slugger will take that even with the track position loss.
I think he can count it as an escape, if you will, and a lot of drivers have escaped that. Brandon T. Banks being one of them, kind of involved in an incident where they hit the wall or they hit another car, but the damage doesn't really register too much, and it kind of just gives them a scratch on either the rear bumper or the front bumper, and that really does nothing aerodynamically to your car, and it doesn't really do anything internally either. So it's just kind of a cosmetic thing, and you can just keep going anyway. So for the 13, definitely dodged a bullet. A bit of a scrape off of the paint that you'd see on the front end of that Ford Taurus, but I don't think Lawton Slugger minds one bit. As the pace car comes back down, it's Kyle Benson back again at the front of the field, and Joe Sanchez creeps into the top 3 for the first time tonight as Eric Schaefer tries to make a move on Tristan Bailey.
We see Schaefer working his way up to the front as well, but Joe Sanchez up into second, Kenneth. That's going to be crucial for this race. You see close quarter racing between those for third right now. Bailey able to get the elbows out, trying to take that second spot. Eric Schaefer not going to exactly give it to him, trying to ring it around the outside there, and he's going to have a challenge now from Lance Hill going into turn 3. You feel that the 2's going to get this, but he's actually going to slide and gets hit by the 22. He's going to get spinning around, and he's going to hit Patty Reedy. They're all going to pile up off turn 4.
It's another big crash off of the 4th corner. There's the 97, the 53, the 11 of Austin Reedy. And it all began with the 2 of Tristan Bailey getting turned, and the entrance of turns 3 and 4 after a tight battle with the 22. Take a look at it once more. We saw it right in the forefront of our screen. Bailey trying to make the inside. Schaefer trying to work the outside. Schaefer trying to pinch the 2 here, and then right here just slightly gets into him. I don't believe he meant to send the 2 around, but then the extra little tap there, and the 2 careens back across the track. But it is a hard slam for everybody down across the racing venue, like the 11, the 97 of MacArthur, and multiple drivers on end involved in this one. Take an onboard look with Ken MacArthur as he works to 3 and 4.
Right here, they can't quite see the wreck happening, and it's to his outside, but right there when Reedy gets hit, that sends him down the track, and that effectively blocked it for just a brief second. You see right there, Prees with an interesting way of getting involved there, but we mentioned it at the top of the show, Kenneth. When cars wreck here, the track easily gets blocked.
There's a look with Schaefer. He was trying to basically force that 2 further down, and he did this last lap, and they almost made contact, but this time the contact is made. That sends the 2 around, and of course creates sort of that domino effect that we've seen all night long.
You know, it did look like he was a little bit loose just before the contact. I think we should get another look at it. It looked like under braking, the car stepped out a little bit from him, and in doing so is what allowed the 22 to get into his right rear, making it even worse.
Well, the 2 definitely fighting that race car, but the contact there definitely doesn't help on the way, as a bunch of drivers did hit pit road. Did not mention this under the recent yellows, so if you're wondering why we're seeing a different front row once more, it's because Kyle Benson, Eric Schaefer, Lance Hill, all the guys up at the front of the field, they decided to pit the last yellow by. So again, we're going to have a different look at the front of the field. It's Joe Sanchez that'll command us back to green. Michael Woolley on the outside as we come back to action here at 5 Flags. It's a really good start by the 55 of Sanchez. He's able to clear to turn 1. Well, Michael Woolley with damage, trying to fend off another car with damage in the 11 and the entire field.
A lot of damaged cars already in this race, Kenneth, and I think that's going to be a continued trend. No left front on that race car. That is a open fender there for the 11 of Austin Reedy, but he is still running in the 3rd position, proving that you don't need fenders to run well at the short track. We see one car way up high. It looks to be Jesse Prees there trying to hold off. That's not exactly going to work out. And here we see Curtis Kelly, winner from Myrtle Beach, running inside the top 5, maybe trying to lurk around, see if he can hang around long enough to maybe get presented a similar opportunity.
For Curtis Kelly, the win came on green-white checkered territory on a last lap pass in the last corner. And one of the drivers involved in that incident on that last lap was the 48 of AJ Green, the driver underneath him, battling for position. As they'll slow down, the caution will wave once again at the mark of lap 90. And I believe we may have had another instance of Ken MacArthur in an incident here, or Lance Hill. I think Lance Hill actually he's had the most damage, so I think he is a part of the incident here, and actually a huge crash off turn 4. Take a look at this, battling, new broad down low. I think it's going to be hit off turn 2 with the 22 right about here. This will send the 34 out of whack. Gets loose, overcorrects, and this is a hard hit, but watch this.
Oh my, just a big hit. Reminds you of Bristol, doesn't it, with cars getting upside down. We saw so many cars. We've seen so many cars in the short tracks get airborne. You'd think that at the big tracks you'd see that more often. We didn't see that at Talladega last week, Kenneth, but surprisingly here at Five Flags, we already have more cars in the air and upside down than we did a week ago.
I think we'll have a couple of cars practice for flight school, as we call it. The 34 goes straight to the garage with that damage, and Lance Hill did not burn a faster pair. The only problem is he had to tow that race car, so he's going to be a while on pit road, and he's not really going to have the chance to burn the fast pair until a long while after, where the damage obviously will be fixed at some point. But for Hill, it was a trouble-filled night, and it's kind of gotten a little bit worse over the course of the first half as you mark lap 93 and what should be our halfway mark here out of 200 for the Five Flags Speedway and our coverage here on the KBueno Racing Network. While we're under yellow, we'll take a moment to at least answer a few of the Ask KBRN questions. If you're watching the bottom ticker all the way at the bottom of the screen, you see it right now. It says join the conversation using hashtag AskKBRN. So if you want to join the conversation with us up in the booth, especially with time that we have, we can give an answer to your questions and of course, answer them to the best of our ability and as quickly as possible. Got one down below. Our first one says, what has been your favorite race in 4 wide racing leagues this season, including both Cup and ARCA? This is a good question just because I think over the course of this season, we have seen a lot of stunning finishes between the Cup Series and the ARCA Series alike. I think if I'm going to go with a finish that definitely was exciting, I think I'm definitely going to go with Auto Club in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series earlier this season with Colin Forster taking his first win. It was the first race season. It was the first race of the season. It was the first entrance of newcomers and new rookies, including Forster. And what a way to have a new season start with a new driver going to victory lane. Francisco, what do you think has been the best race so far out of your time in the booth?
Well, in my time in the booth, I think my favorite finish would have to be the Indianapolis race. Just the strategy called by the Stonks Motorsports to work collectively to defeat the throne of the 78 of Brian M. Smith to take that race win was very interesting and very gutsy, as we do take the green flag here. But full bias as a driver, Homestead was definitely my favorite race.
Oh, and the 69 of Woolley, but he saves it in 1 and 2. Everybody scrambles around. That's Kinsey, Green, D'Elia, Lounslugger, everybody trying to aim by as the 69 almost had a wild moment in turn 2. That's going to pretty much separate first on back. Sanchez is going to convincingly continue in the lead. We almost had a wild one there to bring us under yellow. We're going to stay green as for now, but I guess to answer your answer there, Francisco, I think I knew you were going to say Homestead. That's why I said as a booth, a part of the booth commentator, because I knew as a driver, immediately first race is going to go into the head was Homestead. It's the only race you ran, and you won it. So I think that counts. But that was one off turn 2 for sure. Joe Sanchez still in the race lead.
Yeah, that was a close call there for Woolley, and we were just talking about Homestead, Kenneth, and the runner-up in that race was Michael Woolley, and that is not what he wants to have going his way, at least in this portion of the race. Very far sideways, but he was able to gather it back up. An incredible save there in turn 1. I am surprised that we did not have cars piling up in there, as we've seen for most of the night. But you see some cars have gotten damaged, and there are racing, and we see a little bit more spread out here throughout this top 5. Joe Sanchez has pulled out to just over a 1-second lead, and this top 5 a little bit spread out. Reedy battling Jacob Denson. Remember, Denson does have fresher tires than your race leader. Joe Sanchez has not pitted at all in this race, and there you see the 48 of AJ Green trying to work his way back up, who's also pitted in this race. So guys on tires were able to get by that whole incident, and they may try to start down your race leader, Joe Sanchez. The question is, do we get enough laps under the green flag for them to actually get up there and make a pass before the inevitable yellow comes out?
And the strategy certainly is working for the guys who pitted that last time through in the first half of this race to try and get all the way to the end. And the last time we saw Jacob Benson in the top 3 was when he was in the race lead, commanding all the way from the very start. You're right on board with that Miller High Life Chevrolet as he tries to hunt down the 55 of Joe Sanchez. You are right, though. There's a lot of separation through this field, but you also got to think it was also in consequence of what happened there with Michael Woolley, where he got loose and everybody really had to slow down their race cars in order to sort of avoid a huge catastrophe in the middle of the corner. As you watch a side-by-side battle just inside the top 10, that's Kyle Benson, Eric Schaefer for P7 right now on the racetrack, actually P8.
Yeah, and these two find themselves next to each other on the racetrack once again, the 22 and the 2. You have to think they're going to be a little bit of a good boy here with other cars around them. You see Benson on the outside trying to see if he can make these positions. He's part of the people that came down pit road and decided to take tires. Right now, that 45 of Denson is cutting into Joe Sanchez's lead. We know Denson and the 55 are quick here, but this is definitely a little bit more so on the side of the tire advantage that Denson has on his race car. We'll hopefully get to see at some point in this race what they're like on even tires, but right now Denson closing in a couple hundredths each lap, trying to see if he can eventually take this race lead away given the enough time and the right opportunity.
Well, Sanchez so far has not pitted throughout this entire race, so he's gone now 107 laps on his stint. Of course, on fuel, that's not necessarily a huge concern, but on tires, to go that long, it definitely means that his car is going to struggle over the course of the long run, and that will invite Jacob Denson to pick up the speed with the extra grip that he has on 35-lap-old tires and be able to cut this through, as he's now brought it down to 0.8 of a second and closing. As we mark our halfway portion of tonight's race, well, it's time to bring you our race summary here on the KBueno Racing Network, which of course presented by Supermix. We've got 107 laps complete in the books. We've got 93 left. Of course, your current race leader is that 55 of Joe Sanchez, the 3-time winner so far this campaign, looking for number 4 in 2021. We've had a total of 2 lead changes, and our caution tally has moved up to double digits. It's 10 with 47 laps under the yellow flag. That's your race summary presented by Supermix. Here's a battle through the top 15. That's Curtis Kelly, your winner at Myrtle Beach earlier this year. Got into the outside wall, now fighting with the 99 of Colin Forster. But as a part of the separation, Francisco, we're seeing small groups sort of cluster in together, and these guys are no exception, led by Brandon T. Banks in the 88.
And Murray's going to go around off turn 4 into the inside wall. No caution yet, and there it is.
A caution as soon as we came off turn 4. You saw it on the onboard there with Curtis Kelly. It's a harmless incident, though, for the Ada Murray. He's going to escape with no damage as the leader. Joe Sanchez almost gets into him, trying to slow down, but Murray, a victim of a loose race car off turn 4. He's going to bring out our 11th caution of the night. I guess we got to update that race summary graphic since we had 10. And we got to add one to 11 as, of course, lap 112. We'll take a look at the replay, but, of course, not much to really explain here, Francisco. Just another case of drivers trying to push the absolute most out of these race cars, but the downforce really does not want to assist them in their journey. And for Murray, car gets loose, trying to plant in the throttle. And then right there in that banking transition, car steps out, slightly taps the inside wall. And that's all she wrote.
Yeah, he thought he could get there. He was trying to battle that 69 of Michael Woolley. And he had a run off of turn 2 that one time, and entering 3, thought he could maybe just get that little bit more. And you see right there how much he closes in the corner. Thought he could maybe try to get to his inside for turn 1. Just too aggressive, and around it went.
So Murray's going to lose all that track position. Meanwhile, he's going to hit pit road. A couple other drivers going to hit pit road as well, Michael Woolley included. He's going to burn off his fast repairs. So the 69's got a brand new Hot Wheels car out there on track. We'll see if he can keep it clean for the rest of this race. But meanwhile, Joe Sanchez, we talked about him, how the car was struggling over 105 laps, more than 105 laps on a green flag stint. Sanchez has finally hit pit road, so that is going to revert the lead back to the 45 of Jacob Denson. Although Joe Sanchez isn't really going to lose too much track position-wise. He's going to be P7 on the track, as everybody behind him also went for service. So they're just trying to take care of their one and most likely only pit stop, Francisco, throughout this race. And as a driver, we talk about the different pit strategies, and on short tracks with the heap of yellows, obviously you have to time a move down pit road correctly based on how many yellows are being thrown and the frequency of them being thrown as well. So for these guys, is it just to knock down the strategy as quickly as possible, or is it to have the freshest tires for the end of the race?
Fresh tires are definitely going to matter because tires at Five Flags, they kind of wear significantly. We've seen with the super late models and the Snowball Derby that fresh tires have made a difference. But at the end of the day, you got to have the track position. So you have to try and figure out what's the best way to not have extremely old tires, but to give yourself track position, because it's very difficult to find yourself with fresh tires, fresh off the pit stop, and finding yourself anywhere in the top 5 because of the amount of cautions we have. There's going to be people staying out. So it's a matter of when do you come in and put the tires, and just how much of a difference is it going to be with those that came in last time. We know that Joe Sanchez came in. He's going to restart in the 7th position. That's kind of close to the front, and it's about 50 or so lap fresher tires than most of those leaders. Although there were caution laps in there, it is still 50 lapping over rubber.
Tires mattering here in this portion of the race as the green flag will come back out. Jacob Benson with a nice run to turn 1. Tristan Bailey going to follow suit behind. No contention out of the outside lane this time through. Eric Schaefer's going to fall back to P3. Kyle Benson, Craig Launslugger currently round up the top 5. It's a big crash behind Tony Kivet and Kevin D'Elia up into the outside wall hard. And of course, caution comes out. More cars piled in down low. That's the 49 of Hastings as the 34 of Lance Hill.
At Roberts.
And D'Elia with a wheel completely flat on his ground, looking like Mario Kart when he reached upside down. And his car is completely torn up at the exit of turn 4. It was a big stack 'em up as they were trying to get through the last corners of this racetrack. We'll take a look at the replay, and it was a contact-filled turn 3 and 4. It was a huge pack nonetheless. Drivers on fresh tires versus drivers on old tires. D'Elia gets stepped out, and of course tries to overcorrect it. Tony Kivet, the victim in this as well.
Yeah, just you can see the car just was loose from the way in, no contact with anybody. And then right there, a little bit of contact with the 7 before the snap back to the right. Contact is probably what invited him to have the front tires catch the way they did. It looked like it was just going to be that slide, and then right there, Roberts gets into the back of the 34, and 49 just absolutely into the driver's side door into that 34. I think Lance Hill's going to be glad that this is a sim and not real life with that hit.
That was a hard impact there for Hastings into the 34. There's Tony Kivet with heavy front-end damage in that Coca-Cola Jack Daniels machine. He's going to get to that first stall on pit road, and Hill's going to be looking for his stall just after victory lane. He's going to come in for his stop. He's back in P23, 5 laps down, so he's just trying to survive. But in the case of Five Flags and the situations that he's been in, it has not been easy whatsoever to even keep himself afloat here for 120 laps so far. What we're seeing, Francisco, it's not necessarily the first incident that really gets drivers involved. We see drivers, of course, get collected in the first crash, but then we see drivers trying to slow down for the crash that ends up with a second pileup, because then we have drivers that different in braking distance, drivers who don't necessarily acknowledge the big checkup, and then they get into the back of a driver. And with these cars, when you hook the front bumper with the rear bumper, it doesn't align squarely, and it easily hooks the car in front around. So that's what we're seeing, just drivers trying to slow down to get away from the chaos, but in a case of their own, they're making chaos on their own right just because the miscommunication is there while they're trying to slow down.
And there's usually somebody in any wreck on iRacing, and we all know who that racer tends to be. There's always that one person in every race that tends to call out the wrecks, and you always want to pay attention for that. You always want to be listening out under green flag when all of a sudden you hear someone talking and you hear wrecking or checking up in so-and-so. You have to act fast, because if you don't act quick enough, you can do just that. You could run into the back of somebody and cause a larger problem than what it was initially created.
We've seen that multiple times on end. That last caution, definitely no exception. Pace car going to come back down. We'll reach lap 123 with a pair of Chevys up at the front row. Jacob Denson, Tristan Bailey, your first two. Yet again, another good start out of the 45. It's side by side though. Schaefer not going to be able to tuck in for third, as Bailey going to have the advantage so far in the outside lane. And Kyle Benson, Craig Launslugger put them back in the mix after being gone for a little bit. They're going to try and fight for position as Denson watches the battle behind. He's going to like this sight.
This is much like the beginning of the race. We saw Denson up front and join the battle behind him. They're side by side.
Huge crash trouble on the back straightaway. 13 of Lounstar Kelly involved, and it's another large stack 'em up on the back straightaway. I was just about to mention it. There's Lounslugger involved. We saw him go around first. And I believe he got tagged out of the exit of turn 2, and his car is absolutely beat to the brim. Luckily, he does have a fast repair, so his night definitely isn't over. But after Lounslugger has had such a good night all night long, he gets involved in it, and this also includes the 55 of Joe Sanchez. Watch this out of turn 2. And Sanchez gets loose directly into the 13 and gets into the 71. It's 3 cars, then add 4, and maybe 5 as the 71 comes back down the track.
Very uncharacteristic there of Joe Sanchez, Kenneth. We don't really see mistakes out of him, not at least in this extent. Just gets loose and car turns down the track, not intentionally, of course, just naturally because of the loose condition, into the 13, clips him. And you see right here, that 71 stopped on the racetrack, gets involved. Ken MacArthur once again just can't seem to escape any of the havoc here. But you see, Joe Sanchez is trying to hold him, pin him down to the bottom, and he gets loose instead. And this is what everyone else sees. Just as that wreck is going on, they go to the wall in turn 2. Ken MacArthur trying to slow down for the wreck, just unfortunately had nowhere to go. Cars inside, outside, and a car right in front of him. That, unfortunately, was unavoidable for him.
Well, the 97 actually throttled up just before trying to slow down. I think he thought he was clear of the incident as they were piling up on the outside wall. But, of course, it wasn't over when the 71 came back down the track and caught up. MacArthur also caught up Kevin D'Elia, who we saw piled up on the outside wall in turn 3. And so it's been a lot here from Five Flags. A lot of those drivers in the back can't really escape the back just because the cautions keep piling up on them. And they continue to have incidents throughout this entire event. As we try to get closer to the final 70 laps of this race, Jacob Denson, your current race leader, will take a short break and we'll go side by side here on the KBueno Racing Network. But you won't miss a thing. You're watching the 12th round of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from the infamous Five Flags Speedway. Jacob Denson, your current race leader.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live of our coverage of round number 12 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from the virtual Five Flags Speedway. Kenneth Bueno, Francisco Bacchial, along with you for the ride. You have just dealt another caution here on lap 133 involving Christopher Bishop, Ken MacArthur, and a handful of others in turn 3, but your current race leader still stands. It is still the 45 of Jacob Benson, who arguably has led the most laps here tonight. Well, if you notice a different detail in our broadcast, of course you notice a brand new ticker down low with new motion graphics, as we call it, showing the 4Wide Racing stats, and of course showing different details about the series, what's going to come, and of course the KBueno Racing Network to ask KBRN questions. But we also have new colors on the ticker as well. We've got pink, but that is not by accident. We've got Breast Cancer Awareness Month all month long in the month of October, and we're going to be having it all the way to the end until we, of course, migrate to November, where we'll take the colors back off. But it is a special month, Francisco, to honor the people that have been struggling with breast cancer, or the people that have lost their battle with breast cancer as well. This month is very important to women and a bunch of people across the world, because this disease takes a lot of victims, takes a lot of people, and this month is kind of our time to acknowledge those people and to demonstrate just how strong those people really are.
Yeah, cancer is no joke, and that's why October is a very important month to observe the amount of people that have to handle with the breast cancer awareness. I believe a week ago, they actually, Kenneth, in our state announced that the wife of our governor was diagnosed with breast cancer awareness. So definitely not something you want happening to her, and definitely not in this time of the month. But we are standing beside them. We're standing beside everybody who has to deal with breast cancer awareness, and we hope that everybody gets the proper treatment. As interesting restart here, Christopher Bishop seems to be in front of everybody. He's a lap down, but we're under green. And now we're going underway as Tristan Bailey's battling for second, trying to get ahead of the 22. Almost makes contact as we see the 42 down in the grass.
And Bishop just trying to let the entire field by. I think it might have been a mishap there with the timing and scoring under that caution. So the 42 had to pass everybody unless they were going to get black flagged. But he's able to get in front of everybody when they got to the green flag at the last second, and he lets everybody by as Bailey saves a very loose race car at turn 2. He's going to keep it collected, almost collects it again, stacks up the field, and around he goes, but he saves it, but they're going to wreck underneath. 53 and 13 involved, caution waves again. We're going to take another look at that one. Of course, you saw it in real time. Bailey all over the place. And then the 53 and the 13 get caught up on the inside wall.
And Schaefer was stopped towards turn 1 too, Kenneth. I think we had 2 separate incidents.
We'll take a look at the first here. It started with the 2 of Bailey. See him, of course, loose. We're going to see the first moment he gets loose on the track. This is him fighting with the 22 for position right there. Got caught his car off of turn 2. And then right here, his car steps out once more. Stacks up the 48. Gets loose, hits the 48. He's able to save it because of the contact, but then, of course, the drivers stack up behind them, trying to slow down for what they thought was going to be another pileup here in 3 and 4. As they're trying to slow up, 53 checks, the 13 gets into him, and around they go. 56 also gets tagged by the 34, and they also get into this as well. But you did mention it, Francisco. Eric Schaefer had a different issue of his own, and he got loose as well out of turn 4, which is something not peculiar in this race's context, but for the driver running second and for a crash happening right behind him, this is just a weird time for it to happen.
Luckily for him, just a kiss to the inside wall, so I don't think he has any damage to that race car. The only damage that's really getting done is not only just to the tires, but the track position. As you see him there on pit road, handling the situation with the tires, and now it's going to be up to him to try to make up some ground here. He will have some fresher tires at the very least, but it has not exactly been easy getting past cars, primarily because it's very hard to pass here, just because you see a lot of side-by-side action, and if they're side-by-side in front of you, you can't make it 3 wide. And on top of that, we've had a lot of this. We've had a lot of time with the pace car driver out. I think the pace car is going to get driver of the day once again.
He might. Myrtle Beach was a chance to give the pace car some credit, and tonight is probably no different, as he's put in a lot of hours to command this field with the grace that only the iRacing pace car driver can do. As he'll lead Jacob Benson and the rest of the field back under yellow. And as we were talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and of course the unfortunate thing that is breast cancer, we don't want cancer existing in any form of anything, but breast cancer, tough for a lot of people, tough for a lot of families. And over the course of the past weekend at the Charlotte Roval, NASCAR Cup drivers decided it was a good idea to paint the window nets pink in honor of breast cancer victims, and of course for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So a nice job on NASCAR to put that over together, and of course get the drivers involved to put awareness to such a tough subject, and to spread the awareness on this month of October with their playoff race over at the Charlotte Roval, which was a chaotic one in its own right, but it was beautiful to see all the pink window nets and all the drivers put them together. Whether they were playoff drivers or not, they had it all in solidarity for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so nice job on them. Unfortunately, in iRacing, I think we wish we could paint the window nets, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Maybe we can get a feature somewhere in the iRacing forums, or somebody's going to ask to get window nets painted. That would be a great thing to color them, maybe get some identities out of drivers, and also if they want to show their support for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they can do the same by painting their window net pink over in the paint shop. But it's clean paints up at the front of the field, the 45 and the 10. Denson and Benson rhymes to the front of the field, but it's Benson up top, a charging move in 1 and 2. He's not going to be able to complete the pass. Almost a bit of contact between the two leaders, and they are dead even in 3 and 4.
We saw Denson kind of have a little bit of a struggle in the second phase of the start, and that gave Benson an advantage going into turn 1. Denson diving into turn 1. They're side by side for the lead as the caution comes out, and it looks like iRacing has given it to the 10 as we have several cars bunched up, stopped together on the racetrack like a puzzle.
We're in a Walmart parking lot here off turn 4. That is multiple drivers stopped, piled in with each other. Ken MacArthur in addition to this, but we'll see how exactly this started. Huge amount of drivers up at the front, and I believe it was Tristan Bailey to cause this one. Not sure whether he had help on his front. Actually, no, just got loose just like he did the last caution, and then comes Tony Kivitt, then there's Lownslugger, and not sure how to describe this other than it's a big stack him up, and the 34 gets sent up into the air and pretty much lands on another car.
I think more accurate than a Walmart parking lot, there would be a crash on 95 every morning. That's what that looked like. You see just suddenly, quickly, and nobody realizing it's going on and just having nowhere to go into the back of each other and just nowhere to go once they're here. Everybody is blocked in some way or fashion, and they're just sitting there.
Trying to board here with Curtis Kelly in the 71. He's got a nice view of pretty much the entire field, and Bailey will get loose down low. He's all the way up at the front of the field, so you won't necessarily see him. Kind of at the edge of your screen. Now he's loose, so you don't see him now. There you see him reappear in that Wonder Machine. And everybody stacks up, and a wonderful job here, though, by Kelly to get around all of this and to slow down in time, find the space down low, and to get around this and gain a lot of positions on end in that Shrek machine. But it is a huge pileup at turn 4. I think fortunately these guys are going to be able to continue for the most part, but much like I said earlier on, drivers who were stuck in the back with incidents continue to suffer from the same dilemma. The incidents continue to happen near the rear, and that's why we're seeing the drivers near their back not really gain as much ground as they probably want to here in this race. Although we did have a challenge for the race lead, and iRacing did officially mark Kyle Benson the race leader, so put that Alfa Romeo machine up in front. After being kind of within the top 5, top 10 all night long, Benson is going to have his first shot at controlling the field on the next restart.
And almost gets into Tony Kivitt there, who was stopped on the racetrack behind the pace car. But Kyle Benson has definitely shown good performance here tonight, Kenneth. This is the kind of run we've been wanting to see out of the driver of the 10, the kind of runs we know he can have, but just hasn't been able to put together. And right now, sitting in the lead as we're about to approach 50 laps to go for this next restart, you have to wonder, does he stay out the rest of the way? And if that's the case, does it work out for him? Because we saw the 45 was very strong on these restarts, very strong in staying out in front, but just as easily was able to lose the lead. And as the lights go off on the pace car, we are going to go double file. So everyone's going to get by the 7 of Tony Kivitt, and we are going to get ready to go back racing. But that Alfa Romeo car, Kenneth, maybe taking some lessons from a former Alfa Romeo Sauber driver in Marcus Ericsson. We saw Ericsson have a very good IndyCar Series season this year. It didn't start that great in his rookie year, but now we've seen what he's able to do, and maybe Kyle Benson's trying to take some lessons from that.
Well, Kyle Benson will reach the green flag in the lead for the first time tonight with about 50 laps to go as we cross the start-finish line. Going to have an easy advantage in a turn 1 and 2 over Denson and AJ Green. And just to know, on the strategy point, Benson and Denson on the oldest tires in the field. So far, Kyle working on lap 67, while Denson works on lap 80 of his stint. Everybody else behind them has fresher tires, whether they've been 30 laps or more. As the 99 gets turned, 69 around as well. 11 gets stacked in, and a caution. Flag waves once more. Just under 50 laps to go here in tonight's race. And it's another big stack of drivers, and it involves Colin Forster and a couple other drivers to follow suit as well. And it all started with the checkup in turn 1, and probably all started with the 99 in his case. Watch the run off turn 2. It's single file, but Woolie's going to get into the 99. They both get collected. Reedy's going to hit them. He's going to get hit by the 00. Matt Roberts almost gets a bit of the contact. The 49 of Hastings is able to survive, but just again, narrowness here at Five Flags and not much space for drivers to maneuver to get around these sorts of crashes.
You know, I will say this, Kenneth. After the race at Myrtle Beach, and even Homestead for that matter, you would think that sometimes in certain instances that these drivers would maybe learn from previous races, but it has been very difficult trying to judge the braking, what each person's going to do. And I mean, it's been better than Myrtle Beach. I will say that we've had less cautions, but most of these incidents seem rather repetitive. We've seen similar instances of driver just getting into the other driver on corner entry in the middle of the corner, and then just cars getting away from them on the exit. By no means is that easy, but we're seeing a lot of the same mistakes, and that's not something you exactly want to see out of these races. Normally, if you see incidents, you would, if you were to see them, you would think it would like to be different sort of mistakes, different things going on, but it's a lot of the same mistakes I'm seeing.
And if you work back from the notebook and all the things taken at Myrtle Beach, you kind of saw the same phenomenon, right? You saw a lot of drivers or a lot of crashes, a lot of yellows that were caused by the same thing mostly over and over again. We saw a lot of drivers have trouble off turn 2, whether they got loose or whether they just tagged another driver. And that happened multiple times on end in that race. And we're seeing a lot of the same here tonight from the other short track and Five Flags, where just drivers get loose or drivers stack up together, and then it brings a whole pile of drivers in. And then drivers are just also trying to find ways around the wreck. They just can't find it because either they get tagged by a driver who's slowing down behind them and gets into them, or they end up in the wrong place at the wrong time and they just have no space to even go anywhere. And then they have no choice but to just brace for impact and hope for the best. So definitely the same sort of issues we're seeing at these short tracks. And this won't be the last short track, at least local short track, that we'll see here in this season, because we have one more before we call things over here in the 4 Wide Racing ARCA Series. It won't be a playoff race, but it will be one nearing close to the playoffs at the tail end of the regular season. It will be USA International, which is a track that's synonymous with street stocks on the iRacing service as a rookie series, but the ARCA Menard Series cars on the service do take their visits here, or to take their visits there over, rather, at the USA International Speedway. So again, we're going to see more short track thrillers, short track action over at USA in a couple of weeks' time, but still got to get this thing done here from Five Flags in Pensacola, Florida, as the pace car will come back down to pit road under 50 laps to go. It's Kyle Benson in the race lead.
A good jump for him. He's able to get out there, and now they're going to be side by side for the second spot. So exactly what Denton was seeing in his mirror and loving, he's dreading right now as he's in the middle trying to hold on to that second spot on old tires, and he's not going to be able to do it. It's like Green is going to take away that second position, a little bit loose, but he does slide up in front and move AJ Green now into the second position with some new tires. You see Joe Sanchez trying to bully his way up there as well. We know that he has car and he has relatively new tires, had to use that fast repair to that wreck on the back straightaway with Craig Lonslaughter, but he's found his way back up into the front as we see a little bit almost 3 wide behind him with Tyler Murray in this top 5. Tyler Murray has had a quiet night as far as the positions he's been in, but we've seen him involved in several incidents, so it's good to see him up here.
And Tyler Murray is so far surviving, and with a clean race car, as a matter of fact, as he watches the battle for P2, but he's going to get into the outside wall, and it's a huge crash. Turn 1, Banks, Bailey, Lounslaughter in it. And of course, Tyler Murray, commentator's curse at the wrong time. I apologize in every way imaginable, as Murray comes to rest on the outside wall, and his car is beat. He hits the inside wall trying to get back up to pace, and the caution flag waves with just under 40 laps left in tonight's affair. And you'll take a look at it. We were riding on board with the 8. Looked to be clear road up ahead of him, but it was behind him that started the issue. The 8 goes into turn 3 and 4. Seems to be no issues, but right about here, his car steps out, he overcorrects, and then behind him, the 13, the 88, the 2 get into it. And there's just another huge wreck involving more than 3 drivers here in tonight's race, causing yet again another yellow, as the 13 of Lounslaughter might have his race sended.
Oh.
As another crash happened behind them. That was another car that got into the inside wall. That was Jason Hastings all by himself. But again, main focus is turn 1 right here, right on board with the 88.
You can see right there, Murray just quickly goes around. I don't think they really realized it in time. And that really hurts for the 8 of Tyler Murray. He was starting to make a good recovery. We were just talking about him, and you mentioned it there, the commentator's jinx. Definitely not what I wanted to do there for you, Tyler. I was hoping more of a Pocono-esque run. But Tyler, you see right there, just a quick overcorrection, and no one was ever able to realize it in time. It's just these things happen so quickly here. Sometimes you're just, before you know it, you're in it. Before you can actually register it's even happened.
And you're just going so fast, and then also coupled with the fact that you really have no space to really get around this. As we'll watch the onboard from Colin Forrester. Not much to do when you're the guys down low, but for Forrester, he's able to somehow split the middle and split the C's there. And he's able to get around. He moves up to P7 in that exchange. So a nice job of the 99 to take avoidance there of that incident. But as for the others, they are going to be stuck down pit road. Brandon T. Banks has made a trip back down. He's letting some cars by, so he's going to be back to, I believe, P21 as of crossing the start-finish line. Tyler Murray got a faster pair, so good news is for him that he had it all night long, and now he's finally able to burn it in the final laps of this race. He'll sit P17 currently. And for the others, Tristan Bailey, he's got damage. He was still scored in P6, so even with the damage that he got from that incident, his car still operates, and he's still going to try and maintain the track position from here on out. Because now we're going to the final, at least 40 laps of this race, 35 now that Canada is across the start-finish line, Francisco. And track position is going to matter. It mattered over at Myrtle Beach. It's going to matter here tonight just because these cars are so close together. So if you're a driver further back in the field, how do you try and go back up to the field? And how do you try and get some track position out of this?
It's not going to be easy. And I think at this point, you've kind of made your bet on whatever strategy you're on. I don't think anybody, at least if you're in the top 10, is going to come into pit road, barring you being involved in a crash or anything of the sort, because with the amount of cautions we're going to have here in these closing laps and how many green flag laps we're going to get, it's you're definitely going to have your opportunities now, and this is where you have to make it shine. As we're back on the green, Benson gets a good restart. We see Joe Sanchez going to try to go around the outside of that 42, or the 48, excuse me, to see if he can get his way up to third, as green almost into the back of Denson. Joe Sanchez unable to get to the outside. He's going to have to settle in, and fourth is actually Denson sideways into the inside wall, but he's going to keep it straight.
He's going to be able to hold on to it. Everybody gets around. The caution won't wave. It's a pancaked left side for the Miller High Life car of Jacob Denson, but he is still going to be able to trot on forward as AJ Green moves to second. Give third to Joe Sanchez in the 55 as Benson leads. Caution waves again, and it's Craig Lauenslager after a strong run early tonight. It's gone from bad to worse for the driver of that AMG machine.
Yeah, unfortunately, the night has not gone his way after that first pit stop of his, and looks like he may have had some help there with Michael Woolley. See right here, they were racing for position. It looks to have gotten by him. Actually, the car got loose way before there, and Woolley never actually hit him. Just the car comes around on his own, and you can imagine that was bound to happen. Look, with the amount of rear damage that's on that race car, not really much grip he has pushing that rear bumper down. And a squiggly spoiler, it's not going to exactly make the airflow stable. It's just under braking, it goes into the banking, the car loads up, and there's no grip.
Also hits a bit of a bump there in 3 and 4, which we really haven't talked about all night long, but what a master job by everybody else to get around them. Tyler Murray with a nice evasive maneuver, and nobody else got caught up in that incident, so that could have easily been probably 3 or 4 cars collected, but instead it's just Lauenslager all by his lonesome on that one. He's going to hit pit road, try to get some damage control. He's going to try to bring him back onto the racetrack. He is still on the lead lap, mind you, but he's back in P20. He's currently the last car on the lead lap as he got on pit road just in time for the leaders in the pace car. Got around to him. So far, if you're trying to double watch, I guess, trying to go side by side here with us on the 4Wide Racing ARCA series from Five Flags and the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series finale from the Texas Motor Speedway, well, you've definitely had an exciting 2 races. You've had probably an opposite 2 races. You've had a caution-filled event here tonight, full of chaos, full of crashes, full of contact, but in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series tonight, in the championship finale, it has been green, green, green since the start. And we haven't seen one yellow, I don't believe, in that entire race. And we're coming back to 19 laps to go on their end. Keegan Leahy, the current leader and the championship leader, with Logan Clampett behind him. It's going to be set up for a fantastic 19 or 18 now laps there from Texas between the championship drivers as we try to get a winner out of here tonight from Five Flags.
It's interesting stuff going on over there in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship, Kenneth. And, you know, we know a driver that's trying to eventually get to that point, Parker White. He's going to be racing in the Road to Pro next year. So just a quick moment to wish him luck in 2022 to hopefully have a shot at qualifying into the eNASCAR Series in the next 2 or 3 years. We know he's a great driver, and he's definitely capable of being in that stage one of these coming years.
Definitely wishing the best for him. And if you recognize that name, Parker White, you definitely know him from the Bunge Lawn Care Series as a driver who was close to winning a championship, but we haven't broadcast that series in a while. But nonetheless, still wishing the best for Parker White and his endeavors next year. As the pace car comes down, it's Kyle Benson again, still your race leader. And in this case, Francisco, he just wants to hold on for the last 30 laps and defend against everybody behind him, because now is crunch time. If you're going to make a move, it has to be now. And if you're going to use the bumper, then why not use it at this point when you're trying to go for the win?
I don't think these guys would want to use the bumper. We see the bumper is very chaotic and causes a lot of problems, so you actually don't want to use it. But even then, so somebody probably has, because we have a caution out on the racetrack, and it seems to be in the back once again. Ken MacArthur involved in another incident. Well, we're gonna look and see how this one came about, but you might have an idea of just how. He was by himself, no real contact with anybody, and car just whips around off turn 2.
Don't believe we see any second incidents out of this one. It's just a 97 that it got sideways, and normally you wouldn't see this in real life be a caution flag, as they really stacked up out of turn 4. That probably could have been a yellow, but it wasn't. But the 97 just sideways, almost in a full 90-degree shift. Right there as he locks up the brakes. Nice job to save it. Gets into the inside wall just a bit, but enough to keep the car collected and not totaled. But that does bring out the caution as we reach 15 laps to go here. Actually, coming to 25 laps to go, as I'd call it, from the virtual Five Flag Speedway. As Ken MacArthur will rebound, and he will currently sit 8th despite all the damage so far on that car. So just a testament to how wild things have been. Even if you kind of have a damaged race car, even if things have not gone your way tonight, you still have enough time to survive, because chances are a driver in front of you is going to have problems, and then all of a sudden those are free positions out on track.
I'm looking right now in our YouTube chat, Kenneth. We have a couple of questions there. We have one that says, what is your favorite movie?
That's a good one. I think there's 2 answers I have for this one. Number 1, I'm going to go with a not-so-serious movie. If I'm going to go including non-serious movies, I'm going to go Eurotrip. That movie is definitely a treat to watch. Go watch it if you haven't. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a funny movie. It doesn't take itself seriously as well, which means it makes it all the more fun as well to watch. But if I'm going to go with a serious movie that's about something real or about something that's not comedic, I'm going to go with Ford vs. Ferrari. That film released a couple of years ago with Matt Damon. Just a fantastic storytelling opportunity from the people that made that film about the classic rivalry between Ford and the Ferrari company back in the 1960s when they tried to take reign of Le Mans. And they went a couple of years battling back at it, and Ford, of course, was able to step out on top over the Italian rivals and take victory back in 1966. It's a phenomenal version of the story with Ken Miles, the driver, or the spectacular driver that was behind the wheel of that famous Ford GT40, and of course the people at Ford, Henry Ford himself, and just a wide variety of storytelling artifacts from the 1960s that definitely played. What will be yours?
I think for me, you'd have to separate into 2 categories. You'd have the superhero movies and then the non-superhero movies. The non-superhero movie for me, you just said it there, for the exact same reasons I believe it, Ford versus Ferrari. Just a great film and a great story being told, well written, great job by everybody in that movie, all the actors. And for superhero movies, there's so many to choose from, but for me, it actually would have to be, I think, Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a really good movie. And if it's not that one, then the original Iron Man. But we're back under green, Kenneth. It's time for these heroes to go out there and try to perform in the final 20 laps and see who can come away a win.
It's 20 laps to go as we cross the start-finish line. Again, Kyle Benson able to soar up to the front, but it's Joe Sanchez and AJ Green trying to make way for P2 and P3. There's Colin Forster with a move up top. How about him and that colorful 99 machine? First time we really see him fighting for the lead in top 3 all night long. But he is giving AJ Green a run for his money. But still the focus lies between the top 2 as you watch the battle between the 99 and the 48. And here comes Kevin D'Elia to the inside as well.
They're all fighting for these backside positions in the top 5. And it is not getting any easier as the caution flag waves once more. An incident further back in the field. We're going to look in here and see. And it's Tyler Murray once again as he backs into the wall.
Tyler Murray, you saw him whipping that car back around. I believe Cody Kinsey was also involved in him. You saw some smoke out of that 93 DuPont machine. And so we may have had more than one car involved in this one. And this was going into turn 1. Started here with the 8 machine. Got loose off 4, overcorrected, got collected with the 93, and then the 97 MacArthur. Just bad luck all night long. He gets in it. 97, you see him there, tagged in the outside wall. Same deal with the 93. I think another car got damaged out of this as well. And it was Tristan Bailey right there. A hard hit. 42 Bishop is luckily able to escape. And yet again, the drivers who were plagued by incidents earlier tonight just continued to get piled on, as they will all hit pit road. Murray, Kinsey, Ken MacArthur in order. The red, blue, and black machines going down. Tony Kibbett to go down pit road as well. And it's just getting tough for them right now, Francisco, to even finish the last 20, because they're just trying to get around. They're just trying to push as hard as they can for position. But one little mistake here at Five Flags definitely means you're around or you're in the wall somewhere, and you're probably collecting another driver with you.
And just think about what's going through the head of Kyle Benson. Just, you know, he's on older tires than Joe Sanchez, and it's quite significant to the point where even with all these cautions, there's still a little bit of a grip advantage there for Joe Sanchez, especially if the tires stay hot. And we'll see if Joe is able to pressurize Kyle into a mistake and eventually get by him, or maybe they race each other and something similar to Myrtle Beach happens and AJ Green or Colin Forster are in the perfect seat to get by both of them. We don't know. We're going to be under 10 laps to go. I really think this will end up going into overtime, and if and when it does, I'm just interested in seeing who gets the better jumps and who's able to make the most of their opportunity and who's willing to go for it.
Well, so far, the trends have fallen in favor of Kyle Benson. It's fallen in favor of the race leader just because the restarts have been prime for Benson in this case, or in the case for any race leader that we've had so far tonight, where they're launched so well on the restart, they're really able to clear the rest of the field, and then it's just kind of second on back fighting for those positions instead of tallying in first. It's not going to be the end, though, because we've seen the outside line work very well on restart, so it's not like you can't do it if you're on the outside of row 1 or even row 2 or any row, as a matter of fact, on the restart. So we've seen it be a viable lane, so Sanchez just needs to launch on the start and be able to maximize the use of that middle lane in order to get around Benson and maybe keep him at bay for the moment. But the leader has been in control, and the leader does not relinquish the control unless he's either moved or unless he makes a mistake of his own, which is something we have yet to see out of Kyle Benson in the last stage of this race. We will go to green flag racing with about 12 laps to go here from the virtual Five Flag Speedway. Telemetry tells us it's 3.5 minutes if we can stay green all the way to the end. Yet again, another early launch out of Kyle Benson. He's going to clear the field back to turn 1. It's a better start, though, for Joe Sanchez. He's going to force it into the first corner, and he's going to get turned by the 48.
Sanchez gets turned, a pile up in turn 2, and they're going to keep going with minimal damage as they're actually going to wreck after the wreck.
71 of Kelly, 49 of Hastings. There's Kevin D'Elia up the road. Around he is on the back straightaway. And it's a heartbreaking effort there for the 55 as he gets turned in turn 3. Gotta imagine he is not happy about that whatsoever. Take a look at the restart. They went to green flag competition. Sanchez had the right of way on the outside, but it was right here. 48 gets right into him. And then there goes Forster. There's the 22, and then trying to get back up to speed. They collect each other right there. That's Woolley in the 79 of Kelly. And again, just drivers trying to get around incidents. Drivers trying to pick themselves back up. And then they pretty much knock down the Jenga tower again.
Breaking congratulations to Keegan Leahy for being your 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. He has just crossed the line, edging out the 99 of Logan Clampett. So congratulations to Leahy and the 32 team. A fantastic season and coming away with $100,000.
I was just watching that. 23-11, their first ever eNASCAR championship in their very first season. How about that? Bringing in a team, and you bring in eNASCAR veterans such as Keegan Leahy and Mitchell DeYoung, who in his first campaign really lit up the charts as a rookie. You'll probably think he's going to get Rookie of the Year honors this campaign. But Leahy, after being so close in 2019, is able to edge out Logan Clampett at the line to win his first ever eNASCAR championship. He burns it down, the driver from Nova Scotia. But we still yet to end things here. And to think, we started around the same time as the Coke Series. They had around the same time. You figured their race would be a little bit longer, but I guess our races overran theirs just because of the amount of cautions we've had.
Not to mention the track size and the amount of laps they've had. They had a green flag race from start to finish. They had no cautions in that one. Yep. It was 167 laps at the Texas Motor Speedway, which is actually rather quick. But tonight, with the 200 laps, and of course, the caution pace here being just a little bit slower than what it would take to complete a lap around the Texas Motor Speedway, you end up with the situation we're in. 193 laps complete when they get to the line this time, and we still have much to decide in this race as to what's going to go on. And definitely two drivers, Kenneth, that have not seen the front of the field much since the start of the race. Colin Forster and Austin Reedy. We know Colin Forster has been here, done that in the Cup Series. Right now, finds himself up front late in this ARCA race. We know he's able to pull some good finishes out of nowhere. Maybe, just maybe, he's able to do something special here and capture his first ARCA win. Reedy also in the same position as Kyle Benson, trying to get his first win of the season after what has been a lackluster start. Everyone in the front's going to be aggressive for a win. Who's going to get it? Benson launches. We're underway.
Coming to the final 5 laps here from Five Flags. Kyle Benson, again, another convincing start. It's Colin Forster and Austin Reedy, your current top 3. We'll see if they're able to keep it clean, or do we extend this race to green-white checkered territory. The Alfa Romeo car still strong up out in front. We'll catch 5 laps to go officially from Five Flags.
And they're going to start getting racy here for second, as actually, forget any of that. The caution flag is out off of turn 4, and this will put us into overtime, Kenneth.
Caution flag again. We're going to try and see and diagnose who this might have been. We see a slow 49 in Hastings, but not entirely sure if that's the certification or if that's the confirmation. And now we get confirmation that indeed it was the 49 of Jason Hastings, this time all by himself in 3 and 4. Just again, case of a loose race car. And interestingly enough for Hastings, he had that fast pair burned or waited to burn the fast pair all night long, and then finally got a clean car and then just spun around in 3 and 4. And that brings us under yellow. It's just a single car incident, so nobody else gets collected in the madness. But we again will have to slow the field down for what will be a 2-lap dash for the finish. And with this, we enter green-white checkered territory. The rules will go as follows. If we'll get a restart here with 2 laps to go, it'll be our first of 3 attempts here to get this race finished. If we get a yellow before the white flag is displayed, we'll rack them up and do it all again. We have 3 opportunities to do it. But if the leaders do get to the white and nothing happens, then we will race it all the way back to the line. Whoever crosses the start-finish line first will indeed be the winner here tonight from the Five Flag Speedway. It is looking to be Benson in control. However, we definitely have seen the leader get punted out of the way. Myrtle Beach was a prime example. And we saw 3rd place come away with the victory. So anybody in this race, any driver position is still mostly viable if you're within the top 5.
This race is far from over. Just Kyle Benson's in a good spot, but it's not a given. We saw once again Myrtle Beach, the situation there. Just he has to nail these restarts. That's going to be the key to it. And we saw Myrtle Beach restart definitely determine our restart order for that last one, and that's what also probably led to what happened between those leaders happening. But if Kyle Benson can keep this lead and get these jumps he's been able to get, that forces the 99 or the 11 or whoever ends up behind him to have to make up the ground. And if he's right behind him, it's a lot easier to get involved in an instant. But if you force him to have to make up ground, all you have to do is focus on running what you're supposed to do and forcing him to make up the ground, which is going to likely lead to a mistake out of him more than it is to yourself.
It's going to be one for the ages here from Five Flags, and I believe we're going to get the 1 to green signal and lights out from the iRacing official pace car. So we'll go one more opportunity to let these drivers get antsy here for this restart. Well, maybe the final one here tonight. And we could definitely have a first-time winner in the cards. Benson, who was the Truck Series champion last season before they changed to ARCA cars. He has not won this campaign. Neither has Colin Forster, the multi-time winner in the Cup Series. Jacob Denson has shown strong performances, but he has also yet to reach victory lane. Austin Reedy, with a damaged race car, has yet to find short track success after being very contentious over at Myrtle Beach. He's going to have the inside of row number 2 as the pace car will come down. Benson off to another early start, and he's going to leave the field on edge as the green flag comes out with 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go. Reedy.
And they're wrecking already.
In a second. Crashing turn 1, and the yellow's out once again.
Kinsey around in turn 1 and 2. And we'll have a second attempt at a green-white checkered come your way. We saw him get turned around in the first corner. Not sure exactly who it was by. But the pace car comes out again, and we will once more have a green-white checkered attempt. Take a look at the replay. It was the gaggle of cars in the first corner. And I believe the 93 did have help. Indeed, he did. 97 sent it in, got loose, gets into the 93. Nice job by most of the field to avoid it. Kevin D'Elia, though, with a hard hit down low. And then around they go. But Francisco, again, another case of a driver getting into another, but MacArthur just tried to send it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Ken, he's been involved in a lot of incidents tonight. Some of his doing, some of them not. And, you know, in the grander scheme of things, if you're further back in the field on these late restarts, you're trying to get all that you can. But you typically don't want to be doing that too many times. That could definitely mess up the race for a lot more people than just yourself or the guy that you maybe have made some accidental contact with there. Because now we're in our second attempt of overtime, and that's going to bunch the field back up again.
We'll bunch the field once more. Kyle Benson still your race leader. And we're just going to wait here at this point for everybody to double file, because with that incident, Cody Kinsey's going to drop back to the rear of the field as well. And Kevin D'Elia, after being close to the front not too long ago, he's going to also suffer from track position here tonight. And we'll see where he ends up. But again, back to the situation at hand, Francisco, the fact that we have really not seen any of these drivers within the top 5 take a win this season. In the ARCA Series, respectively, Benson without a win, Reedy without a win, Forster without a win. Jesse Priest has not gone to victory lane. Neither has Matt Roberts. The only driver within the top 6, or just outside of the top 5, that does have a win this series, or this season so far, is the 97 to Ken MacArthur, who won at Daytona earlier this year. So I think no matter what, unless we have a huge pile up to the end, we're destined to have a first-time winner.
First-time winner is definitely looking inevitable right now, and definitely the top 2 right now are probably hungrier than anybody in the field right now. These are 2 of some of the best drivers we have, not just in this series, but in the league overall. That we know what they're capable of doing. We've seen the speed they have. We know the winning blood they have within them. And to not gone to a victory lane this far in the season, either of them, it is very difficult to grasp. And right now, only one of them are going to be able to go to a victory lane. And I think them being teammates is not making this any easier. But you'd think that at least one of them wants to go to victory lane. They don't want to hand it to someone else. So we'll see just how they race this out here for this second attempt of overtime.
Here we go, second attempt at a green-white checkered. It's Benson, Reedy, your front row. Another good start by the Alfa Romeo 10 machine. We're back in the green from 5 flags. Benson gonna dive to the inside of 1 and 2, and again, chaos ensues near the rear. And once more, we will have a caution. It's AJ Green. I believe for the first time, we see him in dire trouble. He backs into the outside wall, and a slam by Tyler Murray.
Last second there, Tyler Murray gets involved.
What happened there? Not sure whether Murray was just trying to pick it up or what, but he just completely slammed into the rear end of that Dodge dealer's machine. And this definitely deserves a replay after we saw that live. Take a look at it once more. 48 goes into the corner, and I think that might have been why.
Yeah, just unfortunate there for everyone. And goes back to the same thing I was talking about in the last caution there, Kenneth. I mean, it's crazy. These last restarts always get crazy, but it's not fun when you're everyone else and things like this happen.
Take a look here. There's the revenge. Short track tensions boiling. We've got some beef here at Five Flags. And it was Murray that just... And he got into the race leader.
Whoa! Benson has damage.
Not much damage, though, for Benson. So he's not necessarily going to be out. But that is definitely risky to retaliate against the driver. And then to pretty much almost take out the leader in the process. Officials are going to have to look at that one for sure.
And I wonder what is being said in the voice channel because they're in the same team. So it is all kicking off here right now.
It is getting wild here from Five Flags, and we are going to have yet again another attempt, and I believe this will be our final at a green-white checkered finish. So regardless of what happens, Benson is still going to have it out front. He's got last opportunity to finish this race under green, but if it goes back under yellow, then we are going to have Kyle Benson as a race winner. Just a peculiar situation there with Murray. Just trying to get back revenge and a retaliation effort on AJ Green for the contact in turn 1. But ultimately almost gets into the teammate and the race leader who was just trying to pick up the pace car. The 10 definitely escaped. He definitely escaped chaos right there, because if we saw the leader wreck, I'm not sure how timing and scoring would have tried to situate that.
Firstly, I think he definitely has some brown pants in there right now. And secondly, if he still wins this race, Kenneth, I think we have to ask him about that.
Yeah, we definitely do. If he ends up going to victory lane, he's got a nice shot at doing so. With the restarts that he's put up tonight, there's no question that Benson has definitely been quick off of the gates. And he's going to have a last opportunity to finish this race under green. Pace car is going to come back down. Benson just kind of letting the pace car do its own thing, get some separation in. And he's most likely going to launch early. They're going to come off turn 4. 2 laps to go for Benson and the rest of the series as they come back to turn 1.
Back to 1. Do we make it to the white flag? Benson has a pretty healthy lead at the moment. Greedy trying to file out into second. It is all up to him to close the gap. They're 3 wide for the further back on the top 5 positions. No one's gone around quite yet. They're going to make it back to the white flag. We got 1 lap to go.
1 lap to go from Five Flags. They stack behind them. Everybody all over the place, but it's the 10 and Benson. All the restarts mattered on the cautions, and out of turn 4, it's Kyle Benson, the truck champion, to victory lane from Pensacola.
And finally, Kenneth, I think we can finally say it. The 10 of Kyle Benson, a winner in the 2021 Season 3 of Worldwide Racing Series.
He has yet to find it in the Cup Series as they crash behind them, I guess in a way to just mess around after the checkered flag. But Benson finally gets it done at a short track. And he's going to be able to burn it down, and talked about the trends with the leader taking control of the restarts. And Benson is able to celebrate here from Five Flags, his first race win this season, whether it be ARCA or Cup. Finally, he can have a checkered flag to his resume in this year. And it's going to be a lengthy celebration here for the 10, deservingly so, as the rest of the field tries to come back down to pit road and try to unravel what was a chaotic night from Five Flags, as Reedy will come along to celebrate. He comes home in P2, solid effort for them, and Big Fast Racing, as we'll take a look at your full field race results, see exactly where everybody finished at the end of 215 laps. Kyle Benson, your race winner. First time he gets to call himself a winner of this campaign. Austin Riddy will come home in second. Colin Forrester will arrive at the tail end of the top 3. It's Tony Kivet, Curtis Kelly to the top 5, with AJ Green in P6, Jesse Prees in P7. 8th will belong to the 97 and Ken MacArthur, and it's Craig Landslager and Michael Newbraw to the top 10.
Looking at the 11th through 20th position, we see Tyler Murray, who was involved in that caution of the race. He finishes in the 11th position. Kevin D'Elia involved in several incidents in the 12th position. Eric Schaefer down in 13th. Cody Kinsey in 14th. Joe Sanchez, who had a promising night, unfortunately not able to get a top 10 out of this one. He finishes in the 15th position. Matt Roberts, number 16, finishing in 16th. Michael Woolley struggled for most of the night, finishes in 17th. Jason Hastings in the 18th position with Jacob Denson. We saw Kenneth probably have one of the fastest cars here, but unfortunately made a mistake once he lost the lead to Kyle Benson and finishes 19th, 3 laps down. And your pole sitter, Christopher Bishop, with a not so fortunate night for him, finishing in 20th.
These are the final drivers out of the full 25-car field. Brandon Banks, after early struggles, his race ends 11 laps down in P21. Tristan Bailey, strong start early, but ends up in P22. It'll be 23rd for the 34 machine of Lance Hill. Ricky Rosner will arrive in P24. And Brandon Gillis will cap off the full field unofficially here tonight from the virtual Five Flags Speedway. Well, it'll be our time now to take a moment to talk with your race winner. Kyle Benson in the 10 machine gets to victory lane for the very first time this season, and he does it after commanding the entirety of that green-white checkered circumstance. We'll bring in our race winner here tonight, and the driver of the 10 with the Alfa Romeo colors here, Kyle Benson, finally able to call himself victorious. We'll bring him in from victory lane, and Kyle, arguably this race, just like Myrtle Beach, lots of cautions that flew. It was all about track position and how you were able to keep it over the course of the chaos. And for the final segment of the race, looked like you had controlled the restarts no matter how many cautions flew. And then you had a close call near the end, but walk us through how you were just able to nail the restarts, keep the field on edge, and take this win away from Five Flags.
I had a great time. The restarts were pretty much key because I had such older tires than everybody else, so that's what my downfall was tonight. But other than that, man, I had a great time. I love Five Flags. It's a fun track, so hopefully we can come back here again. But yeah, it was a great time. I mean, the cautions and such was kind of, it's just short track race. You're under a mile, it's gonna get like that. So, you know what though, I had a great time, like I said. So I put the old Alfa Romeo in victory lane, so that may be my luck for now on for next race.
Well, in that journey to this victory in the final restarts, I kind of want to talk about that little moment that you had almost getting collected with Tyler Murray. He was on his own way with some tensions there with AJ Green. You were coming around to slow down. Was there any sort of brown pants moment behind the wheel as Murray almost got into you a bit there?
Oh yeah, it was a code brown coming around the corner, but I'm cool with Murray. He didn't mean to do it, so it happens. It's like people say, it's short track racing. So, tension's gonna fly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't make a lot of friends here, but it's just definitely a code brown moment.
Well, I don't think any friends are needed to hold the trophy together for you. You're able to hold it by yourself, and finally, after what's been a tumultuous season so far, not only in the ARCA series after being the truck champion, but not winning yet in the Cup series up to this point, and now you get to call yourself a full-wide winner in this campaign. So what does this mean to you for not only more momentum ARCA-wise, but also for the Cup series as well?
Oh boy, you're putting the Cup side into this one. All right, well, the Roval next week is my bread and butter, so we're gonna have to hope and pray I get a win there and maybe sweep the week.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. You've got one already checked off here tonight from Five Flags, and of course, Charlotte Roval next week. That's also going to be, or rather not next week, tomorrow night. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. Kyle, before we let you go, is there anybody you just want to thank for making this all possible? Any teams, sponsors, or just anybody that makes it happen for you?
I'd like to thank Murray Radio Motorsports and Team Murray Designs. Two great people, two great programs, great people to be around. Everybody that comes in week out in the four-wide racing series, it's a great time. We're all laid back. It's nothing hard feelings. At least I hope so. But it's just other than that. I mean, you guys make a killer broadcast. And that's pretty much about it.
Well, we certainly appreciate the support, Kyle. I want to give you a huge congratulations on your win here tonight from the Five Flags Speedway. And, of course, you were the winner last season at the Charlotte Roval Cup side, so we wish you the best of luck moving to the Charlotte Roval tomorrow night, but we'll let you celebrate here from Pensacola.
Thank you.
That is Kyle Benson for Big Fast Racing, a winner for the first time this season. We'll move over to the driver who comes home in P2, and it is teammate. The 11 of Austin Reedy did not have the luck at Myrtle Beach the last time we visited a very short track, but this time he is able to get a good finish out of it. It's P2 for him. He stands alongside Francisco Bacquiao on pit road.
Well, Austin, it was an up and down night, all night long, several incidents, a lot of speed, and you were able to come away with a second place finish. Can you take us through it?
Roller coaster. I don't even know how I got back into that position. I mean, it felt like
early in the race. I think I took my fastest pair like pretty early. It was like 60 or 70, and like literally 10 laps after, I think Tristan got turned in front of me, and I worked my way back up in the top 10 and just had so much damage. I was like, screw it. We just gotta stay out, or we just gotta go take tires. I think I took tires late, and it was wild. I don't know how I ended up in that position. I'm happy for Kyle. He ran a perfect race. I mean, goddamn, he won that race off of was it 118 lap old tires? So, it's just wild.
We saw a lot of crazy action there on the racetrack, a lot of different strategies, but the most prominent thing that we noticed here from on top of the booth is that this race was obviously had a lot of cautions, a lot of wrecks, and mostly very similar to what we saw at Myrtle Beach, with most of them being cars getting loose in the corner, some with the bumpers being used with these ARCA cars that don't tend to end very well. How was it being there on the racetrack, having been a part of some of these incidents? How was it? Was it very difficult trying to avoid these incidents? Was it was it hard?
It was. I mean, you really got to judge your corner. I found myself backing up my corner a lot more when I was behind somebody, just because if you just get to their bumper under braking, or even while they're rolling the corner, you're going to spin them, even if it's just the slightest tap ever. So you got to be really careful. And when it does happen and you're behind them, it's really hard to stop for it. I mean, we're not going too fast, but it happens so quick. It's really hard to dodge it. It's really narrow track, so it's just a lot of luck played into it. Just kind of strategy was weird. I mean, tires mattered, but they weren't that significant. They would have to be like 40 or 50 laps old to actually see the difference in them. I mean, Kyle literally won it off 118 lap old tires, so, and I pit on lap 162 with freshies, so, and I couldn't get to him. But it's just, man, it's just short track racing, as Kyle said in his interview. I was just hoping for the best, honestly.
It was a good night for you, Austin. Definitely the kind of night you needed for points. We know you want the win, but there's a lot of things that go on in making this happen. A 1-2 for you and your teammate there. Who goes into making these sort of efforts possible?
Just right before the race, all the boys get together and we like to practice some laps, run hot laps, and we just like to have fun during it. So I don't take it too serious. I didn't have them on the car tonight, but every other car I run, so MTC or more than a KP Sports. It's a great foundation for kids. TJ's team, they do great work. So all the winnings I get from that, I don't win money from this league, but all the other leagues I donate to them, so it's pretty great. I gotta get an ARCA scheme for them, but we'll get that in the works.
Appreciate you taking the time with us, Austin. A strong P2 effort. We hope to see you out there tomorrow after Roval on the Cup Series schedule, and we hope to see you next week as well to try and finish one spot better.
All right, thanks, man.
That's Austin Riddy, who comes home in P2 after a wild one. Started P3, so not too far from the tree. Austin Riddy fell at the end of 215 laps. So walk back to the driver who caps off the top three here tonight. Very colorful scheme for Colin Forrester, who debuted last week, but he ends up in P3 after starting in P19 to begin. We'll bring in Colin Forrester from pit road. And Colin, I think you just said it over in general discussion chat. You said that might be the best race I have ever been in. This one was crazy from start to finish. From your perspective, you started 19th, so you're the driver in the top three that started the deepest in the field. How was that up to the front over the course of 215 laps?
It was definitely super intense. I mean, honestly, the best way to pass was just avoiding wrecks. But, yeah, it was definitely super intense. Probably doesn't help that I just bought this track today. But, I would say I did pretty good for buying it today. But, yeah, I knew the 10 car and the 11 car were probably faster than me. But, it's definitely a fun race, like I said. I don't know. That was, like I said, probably the best. Maybe not racing-wise. But it was a show. I'm sure it was.
And you said that there are a lot of what this racing encompassed was getting around incidents and making sure that your car was clean. How tough was that to try and get around it? Because I know that obviously a driver gets collected, then another one gets in, and then with this narrow racetrack, it's hard to really get around it. So behind the wheel, what kind of perspective does that give you as a driver trying to get around what's happening on track? Because I know we're in the booth, we don't get hurt by this, but I know your car gets damaged by it.
Yeah, I definitely, I was involved in probably the first few accidents that happened, just happened starting in the back. Just hard to check up with everyone in time. It's just super hard at this track. It's a super small track. But, I somehow didn't use my fast repair this whole race. Just didn't have enough damage to use it, but definitely had some damage. I think that probably affected the car a little bit, but I don't know that anyone didn't have damage. I don't even know. Maybe the 10 car didn't have damage. He was up front the whole race. But yeah, I was definitely just battled to survive. Definitely a big wreck on the last lap behind me. Glad I was further up front and not in that. But yeah, it was definitely had to avoid wrecks to even get myself into this position.
I guess if there was a euphemism you could give for this race, it would probably be the Hunger Games. The last one who survives definitely wins. You end up P3, though, here from Five Flags Speedway as you continue to try and run for a 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series Championship. But before we let you go here tonight on this finish, is there anybody that makes it happen for you? Any teams, sponsors, or just anybody you just like to give the love and shout-outs to?
Just shout out to everyone in the league for having me. So it's definitely, like I said, a fun race. A shout out to you guys doing the broadcast as well. I'm sure it's a great job like usual. I look forward to the broadcast tomorrow. I'm not sure I look forward to the track, but I would say I'm a pretty good road course racer. But and shout out to all my teammates at Stonks Motorsports, and yeah.
It comes from a short track here tonight in the ARCA Series, the road course tomorrow in the Cup Series, and of course we go to Charlotte next week on the Oval as well in the ARCA Series. Coming next Tuesday. Well, nonetheless, Colin, a big congratulations on your P3 finish here tonight from Five Flags. Of course, not only wishing you the best of luck tomorrow from the Roval, but of course, next week when we go to Charlotte in the ARCA side of things and you try to get a win on that front.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Colin Forster, the third place finisher here tonight from the virtual Five Flags Speedway. Well, arguably, just like Myrtle Beach, final thoughts are, wow, wild race from beginning to very, very end. At Myrtle Beach, we had a plethora of cautions to come out. Lots of contact, lots of pileups. Tonight was no different, but again, just the essence of grassroots racing, and just a matter of fact, when you put all of the best of the 4-Wide Racing Series all across together, there's bound to be something happening each and every part of the racetrack, and tonight we went through 215 laps of just that. We'll take a short break from short track racing, though, and next week we will head over to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll go right on the oval for 134 laps. The coverage will start next week, 9-10 p.m. Eastern, over on the KBueno Racing Network. So we will go from this short track style of racing, and we'll open things up, put more throttle in these race cars and input once we go on October 19th, round number 13 of the season. We'll see if we can get another first-time winner, much like we did here tonight. But just like we said in the interviews, coverage does not stop 4-Wide Racing-wise as the Cup Series kicks off tomorrow night from Charlotte. But the Charlotte Roval, the road course over in Concord, North Carolina, will have that coverage for you at 9:10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, October 13th. But over on the Max Speed TV YouTube channel, so you'll see the same host of people, you see the same production, same crew here up in the broadcast booth, but of course, very different channels. So go to Max Speed TV for all of the coverage of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. And of course, we'll have all of that for you once we move forward. Well, that concludes our broadcast of tonight's race in round number 12 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from the virtual Five Flags Speedway. For Tyler Murray and everybody at the Race Council that makes things possible each and every week, and on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Byer behind the scenes, and for my colleague in the booth, Francisco Bacallao, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long and good night from Five Flags. Congratulations to Kyle Benson, first race win this season. We head to Concord and the home of NASCAR next week.